I am gonna take a chance and play some lo-fi again, but I'm gonna play it lower in the background so it doesn't get copyrighted. You see the shirt? What's up? Hopefully I won't be as hot right now because there's a nice breeze coming through the window. Got the window cracked open, so shouldn't be sweating like a pig like I was last night. And I feel better. I've already started to heal, stretched a little bit. I haven't ran today, but I probably still will, depending on when I get done with this live stream. Hopefully, I should be having a moderator coming in soon, Mrs. Contrarian. If not, it's okay. But yeah, we're gonna do a fun topic, a nerdy topic, not about Batman, but you can ask me Batman questions since you know it was my birthday yesterday, so I got this on. Drinking some iced coffee to get over the itis because I just came from an all-you-can-eat buffet. I was gonna do a all-you-can-eat buffet yesterday, but I was too injured from my long distance run that I did. What's up, Stuart? How are you? So I did the all-you-can-eat today, and this is like my second cup of coffee to get over the itis. If you know what I mean, the itis, the the lethargy of overeating. So let me get on some lo-fi. Then I'm gonna get with today's topic. What's up? How do I say your name? Is it Tre- Trellislin? Or is it just T.R. Leslin? I don't know if it's. I'll just say Trellislin. You can correct me how to pronunciate it. Pronounce it. That is. Sorry. Um, but yeah, let me get on some. Let me find a good lo-fi.
Hey, smart people, Joe.
What do we have? Um, Samurai Zen music. No, I want some. I want something Batman related. I'm not talking politics in this particular live stream, Treslin, but I've answered that question numerous times. You can literally check it out in so many videos I've had. I mean, anyone who's rocked with me in the past knows my knows my voter preferences. I don't at all hide them, so I just don't feel like talking about it again. That's not what I'm here to have fun, have a fun, lighthearted topic. I'm not discussing politics. Politics annoys the shit out of me. I'm politically apathetic. I do have my political beliefs and biases, but I want to do something funny. I mean, fun. So I'm not talking politics. If you're here to talk politics, go to another live stream. I don't know why people are so obsessed about talking about the same thing every fucking day about the same thing. I'm not doing it. As soon as I find my music I want to hear, um, we can jump into it. And Pablo is correct. I just I get tired of talking about the same thing every fucking day just because some of you have no because some of you make politics your whole your whole personal identity. I can find nothing more boring than a person who makes politics their whole fucking identity. Unless you are getting paid to be a pundit, unless you are a public servant, no one wants to hear that shit day in and day out. Like no one wants to talk about that shit day in, day out. Like that's just whack. Oh, wait a minute. I think I found a spooky lo-fi. Okay. Or 80s and hip hop beats, 80s and 90s. Hmm. Yeah, I'm gonna go with that one. Turn it down so I don't get
Angela also Brooks illegally dodged more than
so I don't
$13,000
get
in taxes,
copyrighted for it.
but she wants us to pay more, including higher Social Security
Jawad Jalal
taxes.
says meow.
Also
They're
Brooks
eating the
claims
dogs.
new
Whoa,
behavior
whoa, whoa,
experts
whoa.
for
They're
her.
eating the cats. Meow, 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 meow.
Illegally
They're
reaching
eating the
out to
pets
include the illegal
from the
title
people that live
transfers and
there.
police
Let
investigations into illegal
me stop. Oh man, that will never stop being funny. So let me check some of these messages and we launching right into the subject. By the way, the subject is nerdy, so if you are not ready for a fun, lighthearted, nerdy stream, swipe left. This is about what is the mind? Yes, nerdiness on blast. Um, for those who don't know, I'm a nerdy person, obviously, but I'm not just a geek nerd. I'm also a academic nerd. So as much as I like talking about comic books and sci-fi and superhero movies and Star Wars and all that sort of stuff, I also like talking about actual like intellectual topics, particularly philosophy and psychology. This combines both into one. What is the mind? That's what we're talking about. If it's not the right, if this is not the right topic for you, I, I, I bear you no ill will, and it's not for everybody. This is just something fun I want to talk about. I've been wanting to talk about it for several days, but I just kept doing other stuff instead. So I'm gonna do it today because it's Friday. It was just my birthday, so I'm gonna talk about what I want. And I want to keep it fun. Fridays, Saturdays, Sundays, I usually try to keep things fun. Sunday, I sometimes talk about serious topics, but Fridays and Saturdays, I like to just have fun. For me, this is something fun. Um, I don't know what the 11 is talking about. Don't give a shit. RC says hi. What's up, RC? Ratvic Dixit says better to remain silent, be thought a fool, than to speak and remove all doubt. Your philosophy probably is that the case? I actually hold a degree in philosophy, my friend, so I don't speak philosophy the way people use it in common usage when they just talk about the things they believe. That's not what we mean in philosophy proper. Philosophy is an academic discipline, which is moreover a study about just about everything, really, but using the tools of um, conceptual and linguistic analyses and logic. And there's an emphasis on cogent, clear, and concise writing and argumentation. And there's a specific um, bunch of conceptual tools and terms we use. So we're not talking about fortune cookie type bullshit, Retvic. So if that's what you think, you can go somewhere else. I don't give a fuck. Um, Tyron says, "Who is that creepy person behind you?" Well, it was your mother, but after I fucked her in the ass, she's looking like that now. Jonathan and Jordan says hello. Um, Jawad is a troll. He is going on timeout. You gotta. I mean, if you coming in here with a fucking terrorist name, get the fuck out anyway. Like, how you gonna come in here on some gay shit and you already got some little fucking immigrant ass name? Get the fuck off my channel. Get the fuck out of here. This is Friday. I'm on full, I'm on full tilt right now. You're not gonna fuck with me. The coffee's kicking in. Psh, forget about it. The Destination Limbo says hit the like button. Thank you. Freddie Dorsey says hello, brother. How are you doing today? I'm doing well. Just came back from all you can eat buffet, so drinking some coffees to get over the itis. Then I'm probably gonna do like a little late night run because I couldn't early because I was sore from yesterday from doing a half marathon on my birthday. I hear you, Treslin. He says, relax, brother. I'm from the UK. Just want to know what's happening over there. It's election cycle. That's all we hear about day in and day out. I'm just tired of hearing about it. I'm pretty sure in the UK, you're hearing about everything in the US election cycle as well. So, no one, I'm personally don't feel like talking about that every single day. Don't care. The, the, regardless of what people think about the election, for most people, it's not going to affect your day to day life, whoever gets elected. That's just the plain truth. The only thing that affects your actual day to day life is your local politics, and most people don't even participate in that. So, Ronan Cooper says howdy. He said what we talking about. So, talking about the mind. What is the mind exactly? How does it work? What does it do? How do you define the mind? Is it physical? Is it something else? Is it two things? Uh, Spoiler alert. I already know. Somewhat. Somewhat. No. Well, I don't know any more than experts know. I just know what they know. So, Freddie says here in California, we just chilling. That's what's up. Thank you, Tristan Lee. Game. Zoed says David Goggins. How are you? I don't look anything like David Goggins. I'll look. So I've followed him on IG. We look nothing alike. We're not the same shade. We look nothing alike. You're just one of those dumb fucks who thinks every black person looks the same. So go suck a dick and suck a long 10-inch one. That's what you like, isn't it? Isn't it, Game of Zoed? You like them long ass glizzies in your mouth, don't you? Just like your mother. Uh, by the way, guys, I'm Gen X, so if you come in here trying to roast, I will fry your ass. Freddie says to the brother across the pond, sorry, who live in large here in America. Word up. Life like that says none of those people in office will change my life individually, so I don't give a fuck about them. Exactly. That's my point, bro. Like they keep talk. People want to harp about this shit every fucking day. Like it's really going to change their life. First of all, you have very little decision on who gets elected in the presidential election anyway, because it's not a direct vote. It's a electoral vote. So if you're not voting the way the rest of your state is, it doesn't even matter. Like I'm like the person I'm voting for, I'm in Maryland. It's a very blue state, right? So despite me voting for the guy on the other side, on the red side, it really doesn't matter because the Maryland's a blue state is already gonna go to Harris anyway. But that's why I'm not getting worked up about it. I know that my vote is not going to count because in 48 of the 50 states is winner takes all in the electoral college vote by uh, the popular vote, which is why I don't know why people get so worked up about the electoral vote because in and but three only there was only like three times in American history that the electoral vote didn't go the way of the popular vote. Only three times since the start. So, um, Ronan Cooper says consciousness is the mind. We're getting somewhere. Actually, so this is one of those things where this is one of those confusions about consciousness. Um, I'm one of those people, and you're gonna be surprised when you hear this, but there's a lot of people in cognitive science and in philosophy who don't believe there is a consciousness. I know people think that would be absurd, but when you think about it, it's a hard pill to swallow. But what is a mind? Like if so for someone, okay, so if you're a naturalist and a physicalist like myself, naturalist means that you believe that things need a um, a natural mechanism to explain how it works. And you're a physicalist, so you believe that everything that exists is somehow, physical, matter, energy, blah 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 blah. Uh, the consciousness doesn't really fit into that. Nor does free will, but that's a different topic, which I've discussed in the past. Like, and then the problem is, and consciousness is such an ambiguous word. So for some people, consciousness and mind are sort of mutually inclusive terms, but the way we mean it in a more specific way, they're not. So usually when people are talking about consciousness, they could be talking about self-awareness, like a sort of self-knowledge or awareness. Okay, I wouldn't like. I don't think most people would deny that. Or um, they're sometimes, yes, they are talking about it as synonymous with the mind. Obviously, the mind exists in some facet. So okay, I'll give you that. Um, or when they talk about consciousness, they're talking about just their own set of self knowledge. They're talking about awareness of your environment, stuff like that, being conscious, being aware of the external world, stuff like that. Obviously, that exists, but usually when people are thinking about it, they're thinking of like their stream of consciousness in that sort of phenomenal sense, where you have a feeling of the feeling of some experience, the feeling of seeing red for the first time, the feeling of taking a test, um, the feeling of having your first taste of ice cream. Like, are those like are these things real? A lot of us want a lot of us who are limited to this about it and don't think so. So I wouldn't say consciousness is the mind, just because it would then be conflated with phenomenal consciousness, or what we call qualitative states, and a lot of us are dubious about those being real. Trellisland says, Freddie, I've been to the U.S. once before. You Michigan of all places got family over there. Detroit was wild. Yeah, Detroit is a shithole. And before people from Detroit get mad at me, my own city, Baltimore, is a shithole. So don't think I'm thinking my place is better than yours. Baltimore's a bigger shithole than Detroit. So, but they're both shitholes. So is Philly. Philly's another shithole. St. Louis shithole. Half of Chicago shithole. Gary, Indiana shithole. um, Newark, New Jersey shithole. Most places in New Jersey. East Orange shithole. And I could keep going about New Jersey. Like so many shithole cities in New Jersey. It's just ugh. Alex says, "Does anyone know how to make YouTube quit showing me black channels?" You knew what you were clicking on before you got on, so cut the bullshit out. You keep coming to black channels because you're hoping you can see a big black cock in your mouth. That's You're talking about ghetto, dude. You can't. Mm, I forgot to monetize. I gotta watch what I say. You're lucky. Roman says the mind is neuroreceptors that make consciousness. That's very reductive. The the neural connections that make up parts of the brain are just that. Not only is that not the mind, that's not even all of the brain. The brain also has many other parts of it besides its neural receptors, which I'm guessing you mean in the neural fibers that connect across the brain. Half of the brain is actually white. Is So you got half of the brain is like the gray matter, which are just the cells themselves, the neurons, the neural bodies, and the connections amongst them, their axons, which are um, sheathed in this myelin sheath, which acts as a I don't know if you think of like cables and stuff like a signal repeater that that helps fire the signal between other neurons and other connections and stuff like that. So half the other half of the brain is white matter. Then you have, of course, um, the veins and arteries that feed the brain. Um, you got the the coverings of the brain. These three levels of covering. Then you have the dura mater over it, which is like a it's sort of like a leathery sort of coat over the brain that protects it, and it's within the skull and all that. Like, so yeah, just to say that the mind is the neuroreceptors is very that's overly reductive because, like I said, that doesn't even make up most of the brain, much less most of the mind. And we kind of think the mind and brain is. I'm one of those hard-headed folks in philosophy that who believe in identity theory, that is brain mind identity theory, which is that the brain and the mind are physically identical for the most part. If we want to get specific, we'll say the mind supervenes on the brain, as in the mind does the mind is what the brain does. um, so yeah. Freddie says nerds are cool, brother. Do you think Moses was a black man? um, that has no relation to this subject, but I'll give you one. But from from thence on, if you're gonna ask me a non a, a topic not related, a question not related to the topic, then drop it in the super chat, please, or give me a super sticker. I'll be happy to answer any question if it's dropped in the super chat, no matter if it's related to the topic or not. Okay. Just drop it in the super chat or a super sticker, or you can even drop me a cash app if you go to the link in the description. If you do any of those three things, a super chat, super sticker, or cash app, I'll answer any question. Um, but I'll give you one. So he says Moses is a black man. Well, first of all, Moses is a mystical. I mean, not sorry, not mystical. He's a mythical character. Like, we have, outside of taking it on faith, there's no reason to believe that there is any historicity to Moses. He's a mythical being, so his historical status is questionable as far as what we. So we can only go by the biblical characterization of him, not the. We don't have any historical char- characterization of him. According, so as far as the Bible is concerned, he was a Hebrew man. Hebrews were Semitic people. Um, Semitic people typically aren't black. Um, Modern Semitic people are, people like Jewish folks, Egyptians, modern day Arabs, these and Berbers. These are all Semitic people. They're not black. I mean, if you want to see them as black, that's fine. But the the guy you come across at maybe I don't want to be racist here, at a 7-Eleven or gas station or working at some halal restaurant, you typically wouldn't think they're black. I mean, obviously they're not white, but they're not black either. They're Semitic people. So going by the biblical characterization of him, he would have been a typical Semitic man, and we know that because he would have been he was he was easily seen as a Egyptian nobleman, which meant they probably looked pretty similar. Anyway, Christopher's on timeout. Uh, a life like that says, Alex, you could get a life and stop spending your life online. Exactly. Like, I don't even give him. I don't even give him a lifeline because he knew looking at the picture on my live stream of me of my channel that I'm black. So he came in just to troll. So again, he goes to black YouTube channels because he wants some BBC. That's all it is. After he gets kicked off of one live stream to another, he probably goes to Pornhub and watches BBC and white ass. Like Boom fan says Moses was Egyptian Jew, so he's brown. Yeah, that's what I said. He was a Semitic person. He wasn't black, but it's obviously you wouldn't have confused him with someone from France. Actually, I take that back. France, there's a lot of there's a lot of Muslims in France. You know what I mean. You wouldn't confuse him with someone of a Northern European descent, right? Anyway, moving back on to the mind. So again, I'm gonna I'm gonna just give you what the mind is, and then we can fight it out afterwards. So as far as the people who taught me are concerned, a mind is any intentional representational system, which means it can be multiply realized in many different forms. Okay. Um, the brain is one way we can recognize a mind. Maybe once we get to a more strong AI, we can say those are minds too. Uh, there can be hive minds too. Like you can have a million, like what was it? Like you can have a billion Chinese people working in concert with each other, and that could be a mind. So minds can be multiply realized, but in any way that they are realized, they are an intentional representational system. What is an intentional representational system? Intentional meaning it's about or driving to or aiming at something. That's intentionality. Representational means it can that it can manipulate symbols for the purposes of knowledge. So any anything that meets their qualifications can be a mind. The brain is one type of is one of the things we can recognize as being a mind. Again, that's why because I, like many hard-headed philosophy nerds, subscribe to the brain-mind identity theory. There's many versions of the brain-mind identity theory. The brain-mind identity token theory. Uh, and other forms that I don't have to get too specific about because unless you guys are actually knowledgeable about that, there's no point in going into like really nerdy variants of the identity theory. By the way, let me change this filter so I'm getting all my messages for better or for worse. Probably for worse, but we'll see. Yeah, I missed a lot of them. Jeez. Whoa, 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 whoa. I'm at to back it all the way up. No diddy. I missed a lot of messages on filter. That's why you have to switch it to off. Um, Lisa says I'm from the USA. What's up, Lisa? Matt says nothing is real. That is incoherent to say nothing is real. Um, David Ruth says school prepares you for prison. That's the reason for all the similarities. No, that just means you went to a shitty school. If you went to a good school is nothing like prison, nor the military. D. Jordan says I think he means the latter. Ella says I go to Igloo University. Sounds icy. Matt said body some more. Hey, if they keep kind of trying to troll Matt, I will body some more. I'm all in the mood for flying people who want to pop out there. Um, Atheist is bros throwing out that philosophy word salad in order to even believe in real. You have to first start with presupposing you and the world around you exist. Listen, so this is what I'll say to atheist if he's still in the chat. I don't know because I'm catching this old stuff after I switched the message filter. I would refer you to Nerev's boat. There was a famous logical positivist named Otto Nerev who posited an, thought uh, experiment. Well, no, it wasn't really a thought experiment. It was just a way of looking at how to think about philosophy, which we now call Nerev's boat, which is that as you go, as you do philosophy, or not just philosophy, like any sort of intellectual enterprise, and you have to go around modifying and changing your beliefs, it's akin to being on a boat where you're at sea while at the same time you have to fix broken parts of the boat. You can only fix one part at a time while you're standing on the boat as it is literally out at sea, because if you try to fix everything all at once, you're going to sink. So you have to have some foundation on which to stand in which to fix the other problems on the boat. Same thing with philosophy or with science or any other intellectual enterprise. Like, you have to make some presuppositions. That's just a part of an intellectual enterprise. Like, there has to be some things on which you presuppose in order to fix the other things first. And then if that presupposition is wrong, then you can come back to that as well. But first you have to fix the other things before you can fix the very thing on which you're standing to make these other changes. You can't fix everything all at once, neither intellectually nor physically so. And this gets into confirmation holism, or sometimes called coherentism, which is when you are analyzing or testing a certain claim, you're testing that claim within a body of other beliefs as well. So if that certain belief is incoherent or irrational, then it calls into question all the body of beliefs to which it is connected. But you can only fix that one at a time. You can't fix the whole web of beliefs at the same time. You can fix that one, and then when you see a problem with that, that might link you to other problems within that web of beliefs. But you can't do it all at once. So that's how you do it. Baby girl says you're not lying. Freddie says if you are spiritual, you can perceive energy levels. I don't know what that means. Um, well, like I said, people use terms that we use in science and philosophy in a much looser sense than it's used in 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 the scientific or philosophy vernacular. Like things in common parlance usually don't mean the same thing when a technical, like when it's spoken on a technical level by these experts. So energy, as far as physics is concerned, is just the capacity for a physical system to do work. I don't see how you can actually perceive that unless you mean that you can measure these things. So, but I'm not going to deny anybody's spiritual beliefs because again, you might be using it in a different context than the way I would use it, which I use it in a pedantic way. But if you mean it on a different level, like someone's vibe or whatever, then sure. Um, Freddie says LA is a urinal. I like LA though. I don't like the politics in LA, but I love LA. Unless you're talking about, I'm assuming you mean LA, the city, not LA as in Louisiana. I don't know which one you mean, but I like the city. I can't speak for Louisiana because I haven't been there. He said golden showers. Garrett says Batman shirt rocks. Thank you. That's my favorite shirt. Um, Freddie says ghetto is a European term. Yeah, a lot of people don't even know the origins of ghetto. Like it's used as a derivative. I mean, as a derogatory term, but it literally used to mean like a ethnic conclave within a city. That's what it originally meant. It didn't originally mean like low class or anything like that. It originally meant like an ethnic conclave within a city, like when they used to talk about Jewish ghettos. They weren't talking about these people who are low class. They were talking about they lived in their own ethnic conclave within the city. However, a lot of these places tended to be uh, working class neighbor communities, so they got associated. Eventually, they got associated with being low low class or slums and stuff like that. But that wasn't the original term for ghetto, which yes came out of Europe. Freddie's right. Baby girl says Alex go to a different plant. Right, exactly. Unks quit yapping. Colt says, I mean, literally, that's what we're here for, bro. So that's not your cup of tea. Go watch a video. Oh, planet. I'm sorry, baby girl. She said planet. I don't like saying that because that's what I call the wifey, but that's her name. So anyway, um, D. Jones says at some point on human history we had a bicameral Monday meaning. Uh, no, I think he means bicameral mind, and you're right. I actually have a whole book on this. This is probably what you're referring to, maybe. A bicameral mind, meaning the left and right brain weren't divided. Our consciousness would have sounded like the voice of God, a separate entity. All right, you lost me in the last part, but yes, there's a whole book on the bicameral mind, which I have and I still haven't read yet. I first saw it in my psychology department, and I was like, I should get this book, so I ended up actually buying it. I still haven't read it. I think it's by the author Julian James. I think he was a psychoanalyst. So I think he comes from some sort of Freudian standpoint or psychodynamic standpoint, talking about the bicameral mind and it's called I think the origins of consciousness within the bicameral mind. I think that's what it's called. So I don't know if that's what you're alluding to in that comment, but I was with you to the last point. The point, the voice of God is a separate entity, because most analysts and other psychodynamic theorists tend to be atheists, so I'm not sure if they will link that to God. Cultist stuttering and shit. Okay, so time out for you. Like, if you don't appreciate the content, then just leave. What are you fulfilling as a rational person? The problem is you're not rational. But what are you fulfilling as a rational person coming in and complaining about someone's live stream? Balance. Some of you are just retarded. Yeah, I said it. David says we are the gods that. That's the reason why we are always targeted, aka so-called blacks in America. And no, I got you, DJ. He said by camera mind fixed it. Uh, Antichrist says my mind says to love. Wait, was Colt talking to another guy? If so, I apologize. I assumed he was aiming it at me. I'm not sure. Freddie makes a good point about ghettos coming to America via the European immigration waves of the 1800s and early 1900s, which is facts. Life like this is Alex, as clear as day. You have no life. Could y'all imagine what this troll room smell like? Yeah, he's an incel. He's one. Look, these. I think the only thing stopping these people from going to shoot up a school with their AR-15s is they can come on these live streams and bother people. Seriously, like they get no pussy, so they're in their house all day with a little chin beard, stink, fucking gut hanging over their dick, so they probably haven't seen it in like 10 years. Sitting there typing furiously, you're a nigger. Like fucking morons. Like, and they're probably like borderline retarded, which means like IQ under 85, and they think they're being clever. Like, if you were clever, you would be doing something else better with your time on a Friday night. Joshua says, good evening. Workday fun for you as much as it was for me. I played hooky today. I was going to work today because since I missed everything I wanted to do yesterday on my birthday, I did it today because I injured myself, overextended myself on a half marathon. I actually ended up going beyond running farther than the half marathon, and severely, I think, dehydrated myself. So I was cramping, like I looked like something from a cartoon, and people were just like turning into like a pretzel. It was bad. And if anyone saw me on my live stream last night, you could probably tell that I was severely injured. My voice was hoarse. I was cramping as I was on the live stream, but I had like a bunch of water and other salty treats to keep me in the game. But I want to get back to my topic, which is the mind. Antichrist says I could show some things to prove Moses. You should check out Ron Wyatt. Tons of proof there. Ron Wyatt is not a. I don't know who Ron Wyatt is, but that's not. If this person isn't a historian who has credibility in the field of antiquity, then I don't think his arguments matter. To be honest, I'm really into history as far as antiquity. And look, there are biblical historians themselves from Israel that have said, this guy is a mythical character. There's little to no historicity that Moses existed. There's no evidence that he wrote the 4 first books of the Old Testament. Like, there's not. That's a matter of faith, not a matter of historical fact. Unfortunately, if again, I'm not going to question your faith. Because if your faith tells you that person is real, that's fine. I'm just going on actual historicity. Justin Bieber says, wow, good job. Most people say Moses was real. Well, most people, never mind. But yeah. Beckham says, "Is you again, Antichrist?" I'm guessing Antichrist traverses different live streams. A bunch of the people on my live stream traverse a bunch of live streams. That's how sometimes I already know they're trolls because my moderators will tell me, "Hey, I've seen this person in this and that stream, and they were being trolls there." So I'm already on high alert. Pete Diddy says, Alex Del Norte, yeah, I know how it's called. Turn your phone off and go outside instead of using all of mommy electricity and AC. Right, go touch some grass. Literally, touch some grass. Life, I guess, says P. Diddy, that troll guarantees you he's like 600 pounds in real life. He rides an electric scooter. I don't know, that can an electric scooter. Oh, yeah, I was about to say, can an electric scooter even handle his weight? But yeah, I've seen some big people on electric scooters. Yeah, that's true. Looking like those people off of Wally. If anyone's seen that Pixar movie, great movie. Kind of predicts our future. Looking at a lot of these people today. P Diddy says he probably looks like a real life version of Eric Cartman from South Park. So yeah, I finally got to all the old through all the old comments. I'm guys, if even if I don't read it, I'll announce it out loud. I'm reading all the comments. That's why it takes me a second, and that's why for newcomers, just mind you, I'm gonna be 5-10 minutes behind in the comments because well, one, I just turned on that the chat filter like 5 minutes ago, so I missed a flood of comments. Then also, I replied to the comments in real time, so that's gonna put me behind. So I know that aggravates a lot of people until they understand that I'm actually going through everyone's comments in real time. So uh, these self-proclaimed wise men say, "Yo, what's up, man? What's up, self-proclaimed?" Ray says, "Hello, black dude." Late night says your mic is ass. Not gonna lie. Well, that's what your mother said. Anyway, um, audio's not so good, so maybe it is. Let me maybe adjust. I'm doing a vertical live stream, guys. I'm not doing a PC live stream, so different facet. I might have been covering the mic though, so understood. Correction, my fault. Audio's messed up. Hey, bro says no one can hear you. Speaking to yourself, yada yada yada. You on crack? No, your mother is, so you can bounce. Guys, if you come in here with the shits, I'm gonna fry you. Like, take your little Gen Z, low testosterone, low IQ, 58 genders, can't do one push up, can't run half a mile, with wearing man purses and black fingernail polish with barrettes in your hair, with your little broccoli haircuts, taking up the every weight station Planet Fitness, can't defend yourself, like penis is rubbing up against your ass for nukes, and get the fuck off my channel. But I've already corrected. People couldn't hear me. I think I had my finger over the mic when I had it down. Sorry. Let me check my super chat here, guys. Think first, act second. Thank you, first of all, bro. He says, "Happy belated birthday, my dude. It's all about the mind tonight. I see, and keep roasting these dweeb sacks." Thank you. I will. I will definitely do that. Thank you, man. Um, but if you guys can, um, guys, can you hear me now? If you can hear me, say, can you say yes? I can hear you. Everyone that can hear me, Someone let me know you can hear me.
We never have one.
All right. Doing a mic check. Mic check 1 2 1 2.
Colgate Active White's unique technology gives you a business brighter smile in just 3 days. Angela also books took your legal tax breaks, but wants us to pay more. We can't afford her. Nothing beats a landline for the fastest, non-drowsy, 24-hour allergy relief.
While I'm getting confirmation on that, I'm gonna time out these little trolls. I'll think first. It's definitely better. For real, for real. All right, thank you. I just wanted to make sure. All right, cool. So back to the mind. So I'm gonna repeat what I said about 20 minutes ago because I'm pretty sure a lot of people either forgot, weren't here, um, or you know didn't missed it because they were probably too busy in the in the side conversation going on in the chat room. So I'm gonna say what is the mind. I'm not one of those people who waits throughout a whole live stream until I finally drop the answer to something. I don't bait people like that. I hate that stuff myself, so I'm not gonna do it to my audience. Like people ask a question and then you gotta wait until the end of the live stream to get the answer to it. I don't do that. So I said it about 20 or so minutes ago. I'm gonna restate. So the mind is any intentional representational system. Um, so it can be multiply realized in many different physical forms. For us, it just happens to be the brain. That is the mind for us. I subscribe to the brain mind identity theory as most people in philosophy of mind and cognitive science do. Um, to be more specific, we think that the mental supervenes on the physical. Supervening means that it it is a product of those physical processes. Okay, and when I say intentional, meaning that it is driven to or about or aiming at something. So we think all of our mental states are intentional mental states. They're all about or driving to or aiming at something. And then we say it's also representational. Representational meaning that they use they manipulate symbols that carry information somehow for the purposes of knowledge. So you put those two things together and you have a mind. So that can be a brain, it can be an advanced AI, it can be a hive mind of a billion Chinese people working in concert with each other. So, and there might be other forms of a mind out there yet to be discovered, but they will all be an intentional representational system. Okay. Define says, I think the mind is just only from the physical brain because we are not this body we are experiencing in this body. You lost me a little bit, but yes, the brain and the mind are identical for the most part. Okay. Some people might say the mind is what the brain does. I'm fine with that as well. Either way, they are loosely identical. We somehow think that these physical states, these physical brain states, are also intentional mental states. They just can be explained on different levels. There's a guy named David Marr who says there's 3 levels of scientific explanation. There may be more than that, but he gives 3 basic ones. You have the physical or implementational level when you're describing something that like it's at just like the physical level. Then you have the functional level. Um, then you have like the logical or algorithmic level. So you can describe behavior at those 3 levels, even at a logical algorithmic level, at a sort of functional mentalistic level, or at a physical or implementational level. Those are three levels of behavior. So we can describe the mind purely at the physical level, like using like talk when we're talking about like neuroscience, right? Or we can describe it at the functional level through like say like cognitive psychology, stuff like that. Or we can describe it purely at the logical algorithmic level when we start talking about connection, the connectionism, um, looking at the mind as a series of connections that are through like parallel distributed processing and neural networks, stuff like that. So, Divine says, "What's your thoughts on some people saying the mind doesn't exist?" Um, so when I think, so I got into this earlier, Divine so I'm gonna repeat it. So I think when people are saying the mind doesn't exist, what they're referring to is actually consciousness. I think a lot of people don't think consciousness exists, and they conflate one with the other, because again, if the mind is just identical to the brain, then of course it exists because the brain exists. Like we can physically observe and measure the brain, its its neural activity, its effects on the body, its ability to cause behavior, and so on. So what I think people are talking about when they say that mind doesn't exist is they're talking about consciousness, and I kind of agree with them. I don't agree that the mind doesn't exist, but I do agree that consciousness doesn't exist, at least phenomenal consciousness. And it's a hard pill to swallow because it seems like the, the, the most real thing we know is our consciousness, right? But that might just be an illusion based by the way that our mind processes information, that we we have this illusion of our own consciousness. So, but someone who says the mind doesn't exist, I would simply say that's wrong. But if they went on to describe the mind in the in the characterization of consciousness, then I would agree with them on that. But I would tell them that they're mistaken, that it's the mind, that it's the consciousness in which they are dubious about, if that makes sense. Traveler is asking you to clarify, define for. He says, "What do you mean by we're not in this body?" I don't know why Red Fig Dixit keeps coming in with this. Look, we've all heard this from Psalms from David. You're not saying anything clever or new. If that's the only thing you can say, you're not. You're kind of proving you're a fool yourself. You're just regurgitating something out of Psalms. Hooray for you! You memorize one nugget of knowledge out of Psalms, out of all the things written in Psalms and Proverbs. Good for you. Kabizify says, "Hey, can we get a shout out to everyone in the Midwest?" I don't know how you shout out everyone in the Midwest, but I'm from the Midwest. I used to live in Illinois. For folks who aren't familiar with my story, well, most people aren't, I'm guessing, but yeah, I used to live in Illinois and Will County and Cook County before those areas got flooded with the hood boogers from South Chicago. It used to be a nice place in the '80s, but when I became a teenager, I moved back to the East Coast, and I really haven't been to the Midwest since. Well, no, I mean unless you include coming to like O'Hare Airport, but other than that, I haven't been out there in a long time. I keep saying I'm gonna go out there to go to the Taste of Chicago, and I haven't been there yet because I wanted to go out there and hook up with my old best friend from a long time ago so we could hang out. Haven't done so, and he's probably moved himself. I think he moved to Vegas, so I have no connection to the Midwest anymore. But shout out, it was a wholesome place to live in the '80s. I remember every movie that came out, I thought it was always about Chicago or the suburbs of Chicago, especially those John Hughes films from the '80s. If people remember all the little teenage John Hughes films, I swore everything was out of Chicago or Illinois, which a lot of those John Hughes films actually were. So, think first X seconds is interesting. Breakdown, got it. Um, but yeah, so do people have more specific questions about the mind? Like, so like I said, as I define it, is any intentional representational system. Um, yeah, good thing you retracted that statement, or because I was about to time you out. So I thought Mrs. Contrarian was going to be in this mix. Wait, let me see. Um, give me a second, guys. Let me see if I can get Miss Contrarian in the mix. All right, I've reconnected. Sorry, guys, I am back. Trying to see if I can get Mrs. Contrarian to come in and help me as a moderator. 10, 10 Echo says you an atheist, Mr. Contrarian. Is that what that means? 10 is that 10 Echo? Like, are you are you former are you a veteran? Oh, by the way, guys, I fixed my dog tags for anyone who was in my stream yesterday. I fixed my dog tags. I found another fastener and connected the two parts that broke. So got my dog tags back. My only jewelry other than my wedding ring. So dodge, dodge. You said I'm dodging your question. I'm not dodging your question. I was just asking was your username referring to your MOS? That's what I was asking. But yes, I am an atheist. I, I don't, guys. I don't hide my views here. There's nothing like if it's something I've stated before, I'm going to answer it. Um, if you're asking if I'm an atheist because that influences how I feel about my description of the mind, then no. Those are those are my those my views on the mind and my minds on the supernatural are modular. So, oh, nothing to do with my MOS. I was 1 and 1. I'm not sure what's 1 and 1. But no, I'm sorry. Like I said, I was just when I saw 10E, I'm thinking that was like an MOS. I haven't heard of 10 Echo, but it's like that sounds like an MOS. But so you are a veteran though. That's what's up. Damn, this coffee's good. Anyway, um, what so anyway, guys, like I said, any questions about the mind? Like I said, but 1 and 1 doesn't recognize. What? Wait, what branch were you though? I was Army. Look, I was 31 Lima. Um, that MOS doesn't exist anymore because they reclassified a bunch of those MOSs back in 2006 after I left a year prior to that. Air Force. That's why I don't know. I'm Army. I don't know MOS nomenclature for the Air Force. I originally enlisted for the Air Force, but I switched over to Army before I swore in because the I found out the Air Force can't lock in your MOS during boot camp the way the Army and Marines can. So I was like, I'm gonna switch to Army. So I did that, and they tried to hold me up for like a month. Um, but eventually they had to give my paperwork over. I think they also didn't like the fact that I was switching over because I had performed well in the ASVAB, at least the AFQT portion, and wanted to keep someone who was, I guess, more marketable for whatever things they wanted to do. So yes, and they require a high ASVAB score. Yeah, I had a high AFQT score in the ASVAB. As far as some of the technical stuff, like the technical and mechanical and all this sort of stuff, I probably didn't do well on that stuff. I did more well on the purely academic stuff because I had really no background in mechanical and electrical and all that sort of stuff. What did you get? I have to look it up. I know the guy was just like, man, he said with just score, you can do anything you want. I was like, all right, cool. I mean, because it only goes up to 99 unless they changed it, right? Think first says salute to y'all for your service, though. Thank you for think first. How long was you in the Air Force, Tenny? Typical Army answer. That's typical. I'm not trying to be elusive. I'm just telling you, like, you realize I left the Army in 2004, right? Literally 20 years ago. I came in 1998 and took the test in 1997. So I'm not, like I said, I'm not trying to be elusive. It's been that long. You must have thought I just like me just I recently got out a few years ago. No, we're talking like over we're talking like 20 years ago. I just stay in shape so I don't look my age, but I literally just turned 47 yesterday. Sorry. Happy late B day. Thank you, Dana. Appreciate it. Black people black people typically age well. That's right. He's a um he said black doesn't crack, and for my Asians don't raisin. They always talk about white. Some white people do age well though. To be honest, it depend. I think it depends on the ethnicity because the problem is non non-white people. Well, I'm just gonna be specific. Black people don't realize there's a bunch of different types of people who can be called white, and they do not all look the same or have the same culture and traditions and stuff like that. There are some white people who do age well. Not all of them. Not all of them prune. Some do prune pretty badly, but others age rather well. Depends on the depends on the groups. Dana says, guess my age. Um, I'm gonna say 30 because I can't see your avatar. So if you're in that picture, then I can't see it on my screen. So I'm just gonna guess and say 30 based on based on my data analytics. Most people who most people who participate on my channel are somewhere between late 20s to early 50s. So if I were looking at that, I'm gonna say probably 30 or so. Tenny says none from my family. Okay. Dana says 39. Okay. And Tenny says, hey, I'm 39 too. That's what's up. Um, oh, another special thing about my birthday yesterday, which is why I'm wearing a Batman shirt, was that Batman got his a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame yesterday, and it was a lot of pomp and ceremony that with that. They had Jim Lee, who's the head of DC now. Yes, Jim Lee, the comic book artist, is is the is the main guy in DC Entertainment right now, DC Comics, um, which is controlled by Warner Media, but um, he's the head honcho. He came out. A lot of the voice actors from the original Batman the animated series came out to commemorate Kevin Conroy, who was the voice actor from Batman the animated series and the video games and a lot of the old DC animated films. He and Mark Hamill would like whenever he did the voice, usually Mark Hamill will come in and do Joker's voice as well. And if you want, you can watch the last animated film from the Tomorrowverse that came out several months ago. Crisis on Infinite Earth Part 3, and that's the actual last voice over for Kevin Conroy before he passed away in 2022. Because a lot of people thought his last voiceover was as Batman in that terrible video game, The Suicide Squad, and people hated it because they didn't want the last time they've heard Kevin Conroy voicing Batman is when Harley Quinn killed him. So a lot of people were upset about that. But it turns out that DC was actually hiding his very last voiceover, which is in the animated film Crisis on Infinite Earth Part 3, which is the finale of a three-part animated film series. But no, it's not just for a specific actor. I was just saying it was a lot of stuff they did for the Hollywood star. So Kevin Conroy, I think he may have his own star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, but they commemorated him because for most people who've been watching Batman animated series since 1992, he's he's the he's the voice. When you think of Batman, if you hear the voice of Batman, you think of Kevin Conroy. So they gave him a special shout out at the Hollywood Walk of Fame. Also, they had a family member of Bill Finger. So a lot of people who don't know the story of the creation of Batman, it was originally all created attributed to Bob Kane, even though Bill Finger was the one. Even though Bob Kane originally gave the concept and design of Batman, it's not what we had. Bob Kane's original conceptualization of Batman was a guy with blonde hair with wings and like a red suit and like Zorro, the little Zorro mask. Horrible. Bill Finger actually came in and gave him the design that he has now, which his design was more built on the Pulp Fiction hero, the Phantom. And he also gave him his origin story. He created Robin, Joker, and Catwoman. So they fixed it about 9 years ago. They finally attributed Bill Finger with co-creation of Batman because Bob Kane took it all, and he did so in a very sketchy way. So the creators of Superman, Joel Shuster and the other guy, they were mad at national periodicals at the time, which is the forerunner of DC, and were going to leave and take the character with them. Bob Kane alerted them to what was happening so that they could take full rights to the Superman character away from the creators of Superman. And in doing so, national he he negotiated the national publication gave him full rights and ownership to Batman, discounting all other artists and writers that contributed to it. So he robbed Bill Finger of any rights to Batman, and he died penniless. $1 billion industry around Batman, and Bill Finger died penniless. It's fucked up. And it wasn't until literally like 2015 that DC fixed that because there was a huge outpour in support of Bill Finger, and they got his they they actually had to go out and find a surviving member of his family. I think Athena Finger is his current extant relative to attribute rights back to his estate. And so now every time you see anything come out, it says created by Bob Kane with Bill Finger. The first time we saw it attributed to Bill Finger was, I think, in the Batman versus Superman movie. That's the first time they said Bob Kane with Bill Finger. Now everything that's coming out now, video games, comic books, movies, TV shows, merch, Bob Kane with Bill Finger. So Athena Finger got to show up for the star for her. I think Bill Finger's her grandfather, either great nephew, I mean, either great uncle or grandfather, something like that. Um, so she was there. A bunch of other people were there who were creatives in DC and working on the Batman books. So Very big thing. Sorry I went on that long tangent, but but again, he's my favorite superhero, obviously. Tenny says totally unrelated, but am I the only straight man in love with Taylor Russell? Probably. Who's Taylor Russell? For some, when you say Taylor Russell, I'm thinking you meant Carrie Russell at first. The chick that used to have them that the chick that used to be on that show, what, Felicity, back in the day. I'm thinking that Carrie Russell, and she was in that that really good FX series that came out 10 years ago. Well, came out about 12 years ago, but ended about 6 years ago. It's called uh the the Americans, about these Russian spies living as Americans. Really good series. And Charles Will says I'm wearing Superman tonight. Oh, so and so in accordance with that, by the way, so Bob Kane cheated the Superman. he he shitted on a lot of people. So by ratting out the creators of the Superman, he got their rights taken away from the character for like, I'm gonna say about what, 40 plus years. The first time you saw the rights attributed back to them was when the Superman movie came out in 1976. No, sorry, 1978. And that was because of a comic book artist named Neil Adams actually went to bat for them and said they deserve their rights to be given back to them because they are the creators of Superman. He worked behind the scenes to give them their rights back to the character. So now you'll see anytime Superman appears in something, it says created by such and such with permission of the such and such family, because there's still some contention about the rights between DC and the estate of those two guys, um, jo- uh, Joel Shuster and I can't remember the other guy name. Sorry, um, but there's still some contention between them and DC over the rights. But the first time they got their rights attributed back to them after like 30, 40 years was the Superman movie in 1978. Tenny says, exactly. Google brother. He said, oh my God, Charles, you just sent him off on another spiel. Took him that long to work out the issue. Jason says, are you Morgan Freeman? No. Are you Jim Carrey? So anyway, I just was talking about it because this is left over from yesterday. I couldn't really talk as much yesterday as I wanted to because my voice was hoarse. I really couldn't talk. So I couldn't even get into everything I wanted to talk about yesterday. That's why I said if anyone wants to bring up Batman today, I'll still talk about it. But I want to get back to nerding out about the brain. Jason says, now I'm a plantation owner. Yeah, you raise a farm of dicks so that you can suck them every night. Bye, Jason. Why do they try me? Like, I don't think people understand Generation X. I really don't. Do you get millennials, Gen Z, and baby boomers don't realize Gen X spent their whole lives just like roasting each other. Whether you called it cracking, snapping, joning, busting, playing the dozens, that's all we did. Like you not gonna get under our skin. Like I could roast you and talk about your mother in a million different ways without even thinking about it. And they just want to come. Like I don't know why they try us. Plus, we're not bothered. Like unlike them, we didn't have helicopter parents. We raised ourselves, so we're not soft. Matter of fact, our parents even told us to get to scram and be gone for most of the day and don't come back until later on. They didn't care where we went. I was all the way on the other side of town most of the time. Shit, when I was a teenager, I used to go off to When I was living in Baltimore, I used to go off to Philadelphia on the weekends to see my girlfriend. Parents didn't know. RC says millennials are greater than all the gens. Eh, I don't know about that. You guys were when it started becoming soft. Like Gen X is the last. No diss to some millennials. The ones who fall within the 80s are cool. The 90s and the ones from the 90s and the ones from the 90s not so much. But the ones that were born in the early 80s are cool. But because yeah, the ones who were born in the early 80s are pretty much similar to the Gen X of the 70s. But I mean, we're the last generation that didn't have we just weren't as soft. Sorry. We didn't need, you know, trigger warnings and safe spaces. I didn't need avocado toast. That just sounds disgusting anyway. I'm not gonna lie. We used to have They used to be commercials on in the early 80s telling parents it's it's 10 p.m. Do you know where your kids are? Like that. you're not gonna you're not gonna just like you're not gonna rock with us. Look, I'm 47. I can beat most people asses who are half my age. You're not gonna disturb me because at the end of the day, I can't respect a man trolling me online who can't kick my ass. Unless you can come here and physically kick my ass, I have no respect for you. Like if you're not gonna troll me. You can't get under my skin unless you can actually physically hurt me. And pretty sure anyone's trolling online does not have the physical capabilities to hurt me. Unless you can physically hurt me, you cannot get under my skin. I'm a nerd, but I'm a nerd who can fight. If you don't believe me, check out my videos. Thing first, X says laughing my ass off at a penis farm. He said all facts though. He said we roasted each other casually and without incident. Exactly. It was only one, but you know what? Thing first, it was always that one person who got mad as shit because you just said one too many things about his mother, then he was ready to fight. It was always that one person in the group. They got mad because they got fried so hard that everyone was laughing at him. Because everyone was like, "Ooh," and they sitting there mad, and they ready to fight. That's every Gen Z and millennial today. That one guy. D. Jordan says, y'all were the crackheads of all the generations. Not really. You guys are the crackheads of all the generations. Our generation of hip hop were the crack dealers. You know Biggie's 10 crack commandments. I've been in this game. They made me an animal's rules to this shit. Let me stop because I'm gonna end up saying the whole song. But we were talking about selling dope. You guys rap about using dope. That's the difference. Flash forward 30 years into hip hop, we were talking about selling drugs. Y'all talking about using the shit. We are not the same. Tenny says, hey, 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 I'm a millennial born in 85. No, 85 is cool. 85 is cool. He said, these new kids make me cringe daily. Jordan says 84. Charles said, if I wanted to stay in and watch cartoons, she booted my ass outside. Right. Like, the funny thing is, I would go outside, but I mean, you of course I'm gonna be inside. Look, you gave me a computer, you gave me a Nintendo. I have like a million books on my bookshelf. I have puzzles. I have an entire toy chest of like a bunch of toys. Of course I'm gonna be in, and I mean once we had cable, it was over because that's when cable was fun. MTV, BET, Nickelodeon, like that's pretty much all I watched. Um, MTV generation, right? But yeah, I still went out. Like we still went out, or like at school, like I would go to all after school programs. So this particular, so when we still had junior high schools, I don't know if most they don't have junior high schools as much anymore, but at the junior high school I went to in Illinois, there were after schools program. There was like a computer, like, and it was like two after school programs. Like one ended like one was like to like about 3 or 4, then the other one ended around 5:30, and they had buses that would take us out at that time too, so we could stay at school, not have to worry about our parents picking us up. So we could go to these little after school programs. Like there was a computer program, there was a math program. I remember my teacher, she always used to me cutting up in class, and she was like, Amon, I'm surprised you staying after for the math program. And I was like, I like math. So, but often it would, or they had like a after school study program. So a lot of kids would stay after and do their homework at the study program. But like the computer program is where I spent most of my time because I could play stuff like, and yeah, this is really gonna age me. But again, you already know I'm 47. But I would play the Oregon Trail, Where in the World is Carmen San Diego, stuff like that. And it was a cute little white girl that used to be in there too. So I would, she and I would, be buddy buddy. So I wasn't like, I was at home, but I was constantly out. And even though we were outside, our parents were still like, you got, they was telling me and my friends, like, you gotta stay inside too much. Even though we literally went outside every day. Flash forward today, and they don't even want the kids to go outside. They're so afraid some strangers gonna come in and hurt their kid when no one wants to hurt your kids. For the most part, there's a few, but yeah, you know what I'm saying. They're not the majority. Charles said if I wanted to stay in and watch cartoons, she blew my ass. Oh yeah, sorry, just read that. See, our music was top tier. RC said soft or a higher EQ. See, people overuse EQ. All right. I'm about to put on psychology hat again. Well, so we're talking about the mind anyway, so this fits. So the so-called emotional quotient. Uh, I'll put it nicely. This is not a measurable. This is not really a. This is not a measurable cognitive ability like IQ. There's even a so-called RQ, or rationality quotient. Again, this is actually measurable, at least according to one cognitive psychologist who I've read. He's made his own rationality quotient, but it hasn't really caught on within the rest of cognitive science yet. But at least he's attempted to make like a standardized measurable test for it, because rationality is another cognitive ability that affects people's success, and it is correlated to IQ, but not it doesn't have a high positive correlation with IQ. It has a moderate positive correlation, meaning that a higher IQ won't equal a higher RQ. As far as EQ, this is just basically talking about what we used to classify as soft skills or social skills. Um, I'm not gonna. I don't think people today have a better EQ, because if so, they wouldn't get triggered by people disagreeing with them. That's not someone who has a high EQ. So many people today think merely disagreeing with something political because it's about a particular um, identity, political identity, is tantamount to violence. That's not high EQ. If you think that merely disagreeing with someone is equivalent to violence, that shows you have poor social skills, not higher social skills. Now, you can go too hot, you can go too far on the other end too, where you're just completely oblivious to people's feelings and yada yada yada. I get it. But millennials and Gen Z don't have necessarily higher EQ, because if so, they wouldn't require safe spaces in school. They wouldn't have to require that a lecture in college have a trigger warning. They wouldn't be out protesting if someone burns a pride flag. Like, you can burn an American flag, and no one will say shit other than diehard patriots and conservatives. But if you burn a pride flag, it's tantamount to a hate crime. How's that high EQ? You're burning a symbol, not a person, but they're all up in arms about that. Or if you disagree with them on a matter of like LGBTQ rights, they're saying, "Oh, you're promoting violence." How is disagreeing with someone promoting violence unless you are literally saying to do X, Y, and Z to hurt that person? That's not high EQ. That's really not higher. Having a high EQ, however you want to define that, means having good social skills. And what I find in younger people is a lack of social skills. So that's what I'll say. Thing first at 77, anti take shit class. You're right. RC said, Charles, that's horrible. Yeah, I mean, RC, that's he's right though. That's Charles is right. Like a lot of parents will put you out. Like they be like, go outside. Stop watching TV. Go outside. TV rots your brains. That's how it used to be. We used to be outside so long we would drink water from a garden hose because we were we were thirsty. If you came like they like don't if you come inside, you're not coming back out. So either you go inside to get something to eat and you gotta stay inside for the rest of the day, or you stay your ass outside and just hopefully someone someone in your group of friends has enough money that you all can go buy a snack at 7-Eleven or Highs or whatever convenience store you go to. You might be lucky that you can go to the convenience store and they have the little dollar, the little penny candies. You know, get a little 25-cent bag of chips with the little 25-cent juice. You guys know what I'm talking about? The little juice, 25 cents. Like yes, parents will literally kick you out and say, "Hey, you need to get out the house." That was real. You don't see that today. Now they're like, "Don't go, don't you leave the house. Don't don't go beyond the yard." You're instilling fear in them by doing that. No one wants to hurt your children other than a few demented folks. And they are by and large the minority. And most people, if they saw someone hurting a kid, they're going to jump on their asses. So this this cultural phenomenon of fear that adults have for their children is completely unfounded. You're living in the safest of times. So uh Tenny says we went out and played tackle football in the backyard. Yeah. I mean we did everything, man. Like we would go ride our bikes, we would play baseball. We used to have a little we used to have a little dirt what do you call it? A little place where we could, do stuff on the dirt bikes and stuff like that, or on our skateboards. I never got to learn how to use my skateboard properly. I used to do that. I was a scout, so I would go to my little weekly scout meetings and all that sort of stuff. Um, we had pee wee baseball. We had recreational basketball. Man, or or sometimes we would stay inside because usually we would go to another person's house and play video games, play like Nintendo and stuff like that. Coleco, Atari, whatever. Especially Nintendo. Nintendo was like as big as Atari 2600 was, and Nintendo was much bigger. No Diddy. Charles said, "No, I went and made my own fun." That's fair. Moonlit Furnace in the house. What's up, Moonlit? I gotta jump on one of your streams to repay your kindness. By the way, man. Jordan says millennials were introduced to technology at a young age. That's true. So were Gen X. Like people don't realize, but we had internet back then. It's just that most people either couldn't afford it or weren't aware of it. But If you watch what's that old movie with Matthew Broderick, War Games, that was internet back then. So back then we didn't have the World Wide Web back in the 80s, but we did have internet. But the only two things you could really do on the internet back then was the Usenet groups, like all the little Usenet groups and discussion boards, or email. That was about it. So, but we had internet back then, but it was not fun because we didn't have the web yet. The web and internet aren't the same thing. Um, and the internet was created by DARPA back in going to say the 60s as ARPANET originally, for just for military and government use, until it became commercialized in the 80s. Email was created in the 70s and became commercially available in the 80s. So we had internet back then, but it wasn't of much use back then, other than like to like really nerdy people use like all in the Usenet groups and stuff like that. And the Usenet groups still exist, by the way, on the web. You can still go to Usenet groups today. Um, but we were introduced to, because it was Gen X and the early millennials back in the late 70s and early 80s who first started using the PCs, whether it was the old Mac computers or the Tandy computers they used to sell at Radio Shack. Remember Tandy computers? Um, Stuff like that. The Windows didn't come out to much later. But yeah, Gen X was like the first generation to get introduced to the information age. I mean, well, the first generation to grow up in the information age. So we spend our childhoods usually before the internet, and then as teenagers or as adults for the older Gen X got introduced into to the computers in the beginning of the information age, right? Millennials were just immersed into it. Like if you millennials are anyone born after 81, like 81 up until 96 are millennials. So most of them were born in a time of just computers. So it was they they never knew a childhood without computers. Gen X did. Gen X grew up before, was the last generation to be born before computers became a way of life for everyone. But we were quickly introduced into it by by the time we became adolescents, if not adults for the older Gen X that were born in like the late 60s, early 70s. Sarah says, "Hey brother, just checking in from South Georgia. We got it bad, no power, water for a few weeks, but we alive. Not the topic. Just asking for silent prayers." Oh, absolutely. We already know, Hurricane Helene has wiped out power in parts of like Western North Carolina, parts of South Carolina, and Georgia. So definitely hoping you guys brave through that. That is horrible. I know the young people are losing their mind without any sort of power out there for several days. Probably don't know what to do with themselves. But to but to be but I'm not trying to be jokey about it. No, I'm definitely concerned about that. Um, there's like flooding in North Carolina right now. Flood caused by the hurricane, so that's a real deal. Cause I have family in North Carolina, so and well, South Carolina, but um, yeah, definitely. Um, I'm not prayerful myself, but if anyone would like to give prayers to Sarah, her family, and the people in that part of the southeast right now, like um, definitely, because that's a scary thing to be without power for days. Like people here will just flip out not having power for like 6 hours. Imagine not having power for days. I mean, on top of that, your food is spoiling because you can't, like, unless you have the foresight and the money to have like backup generators and solar. I would definitely advocate for solar generators, but the propane ones are fine too. But having backup generators for these sorts of situations will definitely come in handy. But by and large, most people don't have those backup generators, so they got to deal with food spoiling and um, I know that's a bad situation to be in. Tenny says we we went out fishing and our parents never knew where we were. Yeah, like I'm saying, dude, when I was 15, yeah, 14, 15, I used to sneak to Philadelphia to go visit my girlfriend there because I used to live in Philly, and I had a crush on this girl at my school, and then I moved back to Baltimore, well, sort of between Baltimore and Delaware, because we had a house in Delaware, but I was still going to school in Baltimore. And anyway, it was confusing, but like on the weekends, sometimes I would say I'm just going to be hanging out with my best friend, so he would cover for me if they asked, but I would just go out to Philly and visit my girlfriend and be with her all day long. So that was like my first like real girlfriend, my first like crush. So I would literally just go travel on a Greyhound to see her. So, and it's like I'm so envious of younger people now that you have like the web, so that you have Facebook and everything else where you can communicate with each other. Because this was prior to 1994. Well, we broke up, I think, in 1994. I kind of broke it off because she moved to New Jersey, so it became even farther to reach her. Um, and in any case, like long distance calls, handwritten letters, and it was funny that my mother didn't like her because she was the type of woman my mother wanted. I don't want to go into this tangent, but if people have heard some of my former live streams, I've talked about how my mother's like when my father was giving me the talk. Every guy knows the talk, right? He was saying, I don't care who you personally date. He was like, but your mother, she wants you to be with a black woman, and she has to be like dark skinned. Like what? He's like, nah. I was like, and it was funny that he told me that because I'm like, well, why didn't she like my girlfriend, LaRonda? She was a dark skinned girl, very cute, you know. She ended up going into the army as well. Not, completely unrelated to me going though. But yeah, parents didn't know where we were. Like we could have done. I was a good kid because we could have done so many bad things. I mean, I did a few bad things, like smoke weed or drink, but for the most part, I didn't do it. Like I wasn't wilding like a lot of Gen X were. Jordan says Gen Z are born with an iPod, right? So, okay, guys, let's. So this troll named Rain Cloud says 260, 6'3", and if you're gonna say 6'3", it's not a comma, dumbass. It's an apostrophe you use to symbolize 6'3", with a quotation after three. 6'3" Sort of like my dick in your mouth. 6'3" all the way down your throat, with the other 3 inches sticking out of your mouth. So he said, I'm folding you like a pretzel. Yeah, you probably could. You seem like a tweaker. Mind you, I don't drink, I don't smoke. You're just a troll. And you're saying you're 260. You're probably 260 times two. And you're only 6'3" in your mind. You're talking about a tweaker. You're probably a little fat piece of shit behind a keyboard talking a bunch of trash, knowing I do Muay Thai. I will fuck you up in any given day. And if you don't believe me, go ahead and send me an email. Tell me where you want to set up a fight, and we can film it, so I can put it on this channel. Rain Cloud. Anyway, back to our discussion. Charles said, "Who took it too far?" Thing first says, "LOL, that was a random victim. They couldn't retort fast enough and got planners. Peanut salty." D. Jones says, "E40." Tenny says, "My generation went out hunting for rattlesnakes. Fuck this new generation, bunch of pussies." I know, right? This generation is scared of gardener snakes. They saw a rattlesnake, they would probably literally shit on themselves. But they freak out just seeing a gardener snake. I'm like, guys, that's just a gardener snake. They're harmless. They actually eat the bad stuff in your yard. I can understand women freaking out when they see a gardener snake. I have to tell them, look, this will help. Like they're harmless. They are actually good to have in the in your yard. Thing first act second says that breakdown of hip hop is elite. Been saying that for years. Went from the big ballers to lost shoes on the mic. Right. Like they literally glorify getting high. Like we let's be honest. Both generations are wrong. Our generation was bad for glorifying selling dope, and their generation is bad for glorifying using dope. But if and only if I had to choose a side, I'm gonna choose the ones who sell it, not the ones who use it. Like they literally have whole songs with them just slurring their speech and think that's cool. Meanwhile, we had the hottest lyricists ever. There's no one who's come about in the last few years that's been considered the hottest lyricist ever. The closest we have, of course, is Kendrick Lamar. But outside of him and maybe a few other folks, we've had the hottest lyricists ever. So we're not the same. And that dude Rain Cloud is probably on his way to go to Pornhub to watch uh, BBC fucks twinks. D Jones says, "Remember the box?" Oh yeah, I definitely remember the jukebox. That's how a lot of us like a lot of the videos that wouldn't get played on BET or MTV. We had to watch it on jukebox. Do you remember how remember how everyone had to like remember how everyone had to try to get the black box so they could get all the cable channels and stuff for free on the black box? Remember that? Like I said, jukebox. Like you know, I first saw a jukebox when I used to go visit my cousins in the city because in the suburbs we didn't have jukebox, um, which was weird because we had. So this is in Baltimore, but for some reason when I went out to Montgomery County, this is in the DC suburbs, they had jukebox, but in Baltimore we didn't. I had to go literally out to the Baltimore city, out from the suburbs to get jukebox, and we were, you'd be sitting there waiting for someone to order a video that you wanted to see, and it'd be like music videos for rappers I never even heard of, like especially in like the '90s, there was a whole bunch of West Coast rappers I've never heard of. that you would only see on jukebox. You would never see them on BET. You would never see them on MTV. You would never ever hear about them in like the Source magazine or whatever. Definitely remember jukebox. The jukebox was a whole vibe like that. People don't even know. That was the whole era of like the whole local access channels, right? So, Charles Wood says, "I remember watching MTV with the cable box with the phone cord attached to the remote." Yeah, that's old school. No, I'll take even longer than that, Charles. So I remember my grandmother. Remember when they used to have the TVs? They were so big, they were literally just a piece of furniture. Like people would put all this stuff, all their knickknacks and lamps and stuff on top of the TV because the TV was that large. Like those TVs never got stolen because unless you could lift 500 pounds, you were not walking off with one of those huge TVs from the 80s. Big ass TV, the size the size of a whole the size of a whole uh, drawer. I mean a whole dresser. And we had the remote. My grandmother had the remote with the little just with the rotary dial on it. So you literally had to like rotate the dial to get to the other channels. That is the old school remote, and it had the cord. It had the little telephone cord attached to the big ass TV. So yeah, that was old school because it was hard trying to find the exact channel because if you rotated too much, you're gonna go past the channel. So you had to click, 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 click. Oh damn, I went too far. Go click, go back. Thing first is the box was a vibe back then, definitely. Charles says Martha Quinn was my goddess. RC said I got my first computer in the fifth grade. I got mine in, and I'm older than you, RC. I got mine before you did. I got mine in right the summer before fourth grade. So I was 8 years old. Um, and it was like one of those. I don't if you, unless you remember Radio Shack in the 80s, you don't remember Tandy computers. Tandy computers were the affordable computers for broke people. Like I didn't. My family didn't have Mac computer money, so they got me one of the Tandy computers, and it came with a big booklet of computer programs. So I would just literally be typing up programs that could make you do all sorts of things, like make the screen turn colors, have a talk to you, form a face, play music, and these computer programs. I'm surprised I didn't go into computer science. Like you might work on for literally days, like just typing in all these uh, computer um, formal language, and it taught you to be. I think this is why I'm very pedantic now because it taught you to be pedantic because through all these lines of programming, if you got one thing wrong, the whole thing was wrong, and you, nothing was more infuriating for working on a program for like 2 or 3 days, just literally just typing all these lines of information in. Usually I had on my TV while I was doing it though, so I could have something on in the background. But sitting there just doing line for line of code for like days, hours to days, maybe even a week, just to find out everything was messed up. Because I think the longest program in a computer was like turning it into like a turn it into like a screen where it sung like a Buddy Holly song. And I remember I kept getting it wrong. I think I finally got it right. But sometimes I think I will look at the lines of code and I'm like, I didn't do anything wrong. And I realized sometimes it might have been an error actually in the book itself. Because there was some programs I never got correct. And I literally checked and double checked and triple checked and quadruple checked and quintuple checked every line of code. It taught you patience and being exact with language. So, and like I said, this was like when I was 8 years old. Like I had just got my computer that Christmas. I had got my ColecoVision, which predates Nintendo. Um, yeah, so I was geeky right from the start. James says I miss being homeless in San Francisco and getting drunk at 6 a.m. and ranting and yelling at people going to work on the streets. Well, I definitely don't hope that's true because that is not something to. Uh, there's nothing to miss about that. I'm sorry. There's literally nothing to miss about that sort of lifestyle. That is hard. That's hard on a person. So I'm hope you're joking. Thing first, X second says the infamous computer room, right? Tenny says rain that cloud go away. Yeah, I got rid of him. RC says it's also a design issue. There's developers. These developers aren't building family-friendly neighborhoods, no backyards, HOA noise complaints, etc. Yeah. Tenny says I appreciate what he has to say. I'm not listening to Rain Cloud. Who's the who's the bigger loser? The person doing the live stream or the one complaining about the person while watching the live stream? Like Obi-Wan Kenobi said once in Star Wars, he said, "Who's the bigger fool? The the one you say is a fool, or the one who's following the fool?" So, Kaya Rizzi says, "Bro looks like Falcon, bro, Avenger." I'll take that. I'll take that one. Charles says, "I'll say shit." Awakaya, am I saying it right? By the way, he said, "Yeah, bro. To be honest, I think that the symbol of the country is 10 times more important than a simple pride flag." RC says, "I like the definition. Good social skills." Yeah. And by the way, I read the book when it first came out on emotional quotient. Like, these were some big books in the '90s. There was like there was like a bunch of books. Like there was the Seven Habits of Highly Successful People, which was like one of those little goofy self-help books I read. There was the book on emotional intelligence, which is now what everybody raves about EQ because of this book written back then called Emotional Intelligence. Then there was the book on multiple intelligences. I think I bought that book. It's in my other. It's back in my other home. Um, but FYI, there's only one intelligence by definition. Intelligence is one thing. We can say there's several. It there are several abilities that can make up intelligence, but to say that there's multiple intelligences is kind of incoherent because intelligence by definition is one thing, but there may be, well, there are several different mental abilities that make up intelligence. That's why we have a thing called general intelligence. Then we have specific intelligence. So we have that's why we talk about generalized intelligence or the G factor. Then you have S factors. S factors mean specific that comprise that together um, will the G factor is usually a bunch of these different mental tasks that are highly correlated with each other, and you can summarize over them to create a general score, which is your general intelligence. So, Alakai Rizzi says, I don't live in the USA, but the flag in my country is 10 times more valuable than a collective flag without any meaning that represent a little amount of people. Yeah, it's just so politically heated at this point that you look you can burn an American flag and go to work the next day and eat some frosted flakes and you're fine. You burn a pride flag, you're probably going to lose that job, and you're probably and good luck finding another job in that field, particularly depending on the field that you're in. Unless you're doing something really man's man type work, like you work on a oil derrick, you're doing construction, you work in like plumbing or sewage or something of that nature. If you work in most white collar type professions, they find out you burn a pride flag, psh, say goodbye to your career. Let them find out you buy an American flag. Half of them be like, "Yeah, hoorah, good for you, man. Fuck America." Like that's crazy. The self-proclaimed wise man says, "I look at the modern LGBTQ agenda as population control." The thing with it is, I know we're going into a huge tangent that has nothing to do with the mind, guys. I apologize. The thing about that is, the, this is why I'm no. I've done multiple streams and videos and YouTube shorts about this. I said this is one of the main factors of why I no longer consider myself a progressive. The progressives have taken on the authoritarian tactics of the far right in order to promote identity politics. And to me, that's completely at odds with what I thought progressivism was about. I thought progressivism was about protecting our the freedoms we held so lawfully, like our personal individual freedoms, um, religious freedom, political freedom, economic freedom, democracy, uh, the pursuit of reason. These were the things more aligned with classical liberalism coming from the European Enlightenment and the Age of Reason. But, and this used to be what progressivism was about, the earlier progressives. But now they're all into just identity politics and 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 victimization. Like, so if you are of a minority group like myself, but you don't lean into the victimization of your group, then you're not at home there anymore. With so, and then they try to conflate the rights of LGBTQ to racial minorities, and it's not the same thing. No one goes out physically looking like LGBTQ unless you physically are wearing something to identify yourself as such. It is not the same thing. And there's a lot of fuckery and Orwellian things going on to try to convince people of things that don't make sense. And I'm not bashing LGBTQ. I'm talking about the activists within that community. These activists and people who hold positions in mainstream media that promote these ideas use authoritarian tactics to put people in a position where they have to agree with these things, even though they run contrary to their beliefs or their common sense. So that's all I'll say about that right now. Tenny says water from the hose almost tasted better than any other water. Man, I still do it today. Like sometimes when I was like out practicing in the backyard, like in the summer, it got so hot, but I didn't want to stop working out, so I would just turn on the hose, drink some water, and keep doing my martial arts to keep hydrated. I still do that sometimes today. Thing first is we call those little juices quarter waters. Yep, yeah, that's what I was trying to remember, the quarter waters. I used to love those things, man. I'm trying to remember the last time I had one. Like I think it was either a picnic or family reunion. Like at least maybe like 4 or 5 years ago, I had one, or it was somewhere. I know I had one recently. Well, recently as in a few years ago, as opposed to like when I was a kid. Shaw says was talking recently about how you knew where your friends were by the pile of bikes. That was another thing because everyone rode their bikes to someone's house, and that's how you knew everyone was there because all the bikes were right there. Yep, that was a definite sign. Or it was just like word of mouth. You knew everyone was because they was like, "Yo, we going over. Yo, we going over Peter's house. Yo, he got that new. He got the track and field part 2 game with the power pad. Remember the power pad? Nintendo power pad. All our parents bought us the power pad thinking it was going to make us exercise. When all of us cheated, we got down. We just got down on our knees and started using our hands to do the power pad instead of actually running and jumping like they thought it was going to do. So all these parents were like, "Yeah, let's give them a power pad. That's going. They're going to stay inside. At least they can exercise." Yeah, right. We all cheated using the power pad. Tenny says they don't realize that when they're throwing that iPad in their face, the government is getting all up in there. Literally, like everything, people should realize, like all the stuff you're doing, they're collecting that information. Especially Google. Love you, Google, by the way, because this Google owns YouTube. Love you, Google. But yeah, Google, Meta, formerly Facebook, um, and like Amazon, all these tech giants that have these apps that you use. These apps aren't free. They only free in a sense that you're not paying for directly, but you're paying with all your personal information they collect on every single thing you do. People be thinking like they're the direct messages and the video chats and all that is protected. No, they collect information from that shit too. Everything. And then they sell it to these data brokers. And then these data brokers auction your information online to people who want to buy it and sell you stuff, either advertisements or they sell it to some sketchy people who know your health information, or some of it goes to some government sources. And then the data brokers might actually end up selling it to other data brokers who then auction off your information. And it continues as long as you keep using these platforms, and you're giving out all your information. These people who be writing entire fucking master thesis on their opinion on something, on politics, on Facebook, Instagram, and you're letting them know all your thoughts and feelings on things so they can throw it back at you through advertisements and political ads and all sorts of stuff. Uh, Moonlit for instance, I think keeping your children inside creates social paths. You're right. It, it doesn't help. I know that much. Like if they choose to be inside, that's different. But telling your kids, no, we don't want you going beyond the yard and stuff like that. If you want to go to the ice cream truck, let us know. We'll take you to nah, man. It's in misspelled. No, I got it. Joey says I miss rollerblading. I couldn't skate for shit, Joey. I'm serious. Like I would just regular, just roller skates. Couldn't skate for shit. I like going to the skating rinks, but it was just because I like going there for the arcades, the pizza, and the girls. Like I couldn't skate for shit, but I like going to the skating rinks, and they always had the best music. Thing first says facts, Moonlit. They are so socially inadequate now. Right, and that was my point to RC when she was saying the younger folks have higher EQ, and I was like, not really, because if the emotional quotient pertains to your ability to navigate the social world, then they're actually worse at it than us. So, Tenny says I did soccer and little league baseball, but yeah, it was all about backyard and video games, definitely. And pro wrestling, we talk pro. Every boy I think wrestled in the 80s because of you either watching WWF or NWA, and then you're probably watching the girls too, like the Glorious Ladies of Wrestling, or POW, the Powerful Women of Wrestling. I watched all four, and NWA became WCW and the yada yada. Then WWE took over all of them. But yeah, then I wanted to get into martial arts, so that was another thing. Actually, my parents made me do martial arts. Like when I was 7, turning 8, they made me take swimming lessons and they made me take martial arts lessons. They wanted me to be able to have those life skills, basic life skills, how to defend myself and how to swim. So Mona says, we're the generation that if someone had chicken pox, our parents forced us to have sleepover, so we all got it. Yeah, no, well, we didn't do sleepovers, but they definitely had the chicken pox parties where we would all hang out and make us get chicken pox. Like that's one thing I'm glad parents don't do today. I think they don't. If you guys are parents, let me know if they still doing that. But to now intentionally give your kids herpes because chickenpox is a form of herpes. It literally is a form of herpes. So is like smallpox, all that. Like these are forms of herpes. To purposely be giving out herpes to your kids because you think they should all get it in one fell swoop and get it over with and be inoculated. That was a horrible idea because now it comes back to you as an adult when you get what do you call it, guys? The adult form of it. Let me stand up. I'm about to get a Charlie horse. Uh, but yeah, that was horrible. The chicken pox parties they used to throw. Sometimes they used to do it at school. Like the schools used to like support it. Like I think they gave it to us all in kindergarten or something like that. Self-proclaimed wise man says DARPANet. Melvin says, "Do you know Homo erectus?" Come on, dude. Come better with a joke. If you're gonna troll, come on. Homo erectus. Really? What are you, 13? With that joke? Thing first is the Tandy 3000 laughing like shit. Hell yeah, I had that, man. Look, I'm not gonna lie. I was trying to find an old one on eBay just for the sake of nostalgia, a working one at that. If it didn't work, that's fine. I would just keep the the um the hard drive and the monitor. But yeah, I was looking for one on eBay. I found I think a few, but not the one I had. And then the price was like unreasonable, so I was like, nah, forget about it. Plus, it's gonna take up a lot of space. And as a collector of a whole bunch of toys and other stuff, that's I don't really have the space. 11 says that Atari was trash as a kid. My parents bought a computer of Atari games for the PlayStation 2. Oh, a comp of Atari games for the PlayStation 2. I get it was the only option, but anything that came after was 100 times better. Yeah, I agree. So unofficially, my first video game was the Atari 2600, which I liked, but it actually wasn't mine. It was my father's. It's just I considered it mine because whenever I came over the house, I just played his Atari 2600. But it was literally his video game. Now that I look at it, but I considered it mine because he just let me play it when I was over there. But my first official video game console was the ColecoVision. And remember, the ColecoVision had the adapter that you could play Atari games on it. So you could play both your Coleco games and your Atari games. Most I'm gonna agree, most of the Atari games are ass. Like I can't play them now. I can still so to this day I can still play the classic Nintendo games. Like you can play that on your phone with the NES ROMs that you can download and put on your phone. Or you can get the mini console. Like they started selling a mini console like 5 years ago. They had like they had the knockoff consoles, but then Nintendo themselves started making an official console because I guess they saw like, well, all these people are making money off of our stuff, so we might as well do it ourselves. So they came up with the classic Nintendo, a miniature version with all the games built into the box itself instead of you actually buying the cartridges. And I can still play those games to this day, but the old Atari games, they were ass. E.T. I think E.T. killed the Atari. E.T. was the video, yeah. E.T. was the Atari game that actually killed the Atari industry. Like, it was so bad. I'm pretty sure some of you folks heard of it. There was a place I think out in California or New Mexico somewhere where there was just like a dump of ET Atari games. It was that bad, and it killed the industry. Melvin says Tandy Radio Shack that's old. Hell yeah. I used to love Radio Shack back in the 80s. Remember Radio Shack got really whack in the 90s though? Like remember you go there and they would keep bugging you for all your personal information. Hey, do we have your address? Do we have your phone number? Yo, that became really annoying. Um like I started hating like by the late 90s, right before they like shut down, I really started hating Radio Shack. But in the 80s they were cool. They had all the electronic toys. Um, like I said, they had the computers. they had like the little nerdy gadgetry, like the little stuff by today's standard is low tech stuff, but all the little techie type gadget stuff back in the early 80s. I used to love Radio Shack then, but by the time I was like in my early 20s, right when Radio Shack was on its decline, I started hating them. Some of the people that was working there were a hell of annoying. Moonlight says, "We the generation that ate at the table, no TV, no answering the phone on the wall or catching a whooping." No, so I'll take you back, Moonlit Fern. Remember, did you have a house where you only had one phone with the long ass cord that stretched all the way through the fucking house? Like the the telephone was probably in the kitchen, but it stretched all the way to your bedroom, right? You be on the phone with some friends, your mom be like, "Get off the fucking phone. I need it." Oh, and when you was a teenager, oh my god, it was the worst. You sitting there trying to mac on the phone, and your mother picks up the phone. Yo, this is something young people will never have to experience ever. Is being on the phone and a parent picking up while you trying to mac and just destroying your whole everything. Like you on the phone, like, yo, what's up? What's up? You know what I'm saying? What's going on tomorrow? Girl, like, I don't know. I'm home alone tomorrow, but I'm not like that. I don't do stuff like that. I'm like, what you talking about? I'm just trying to come over, chill, whatever, whatever. She's like, I don't know. Mother go, get off the fucking phone. And did you clean the toilet yet? You left some pee on the toilet. Like it was done. Rap. It's a rap. Like, nah, son. Young people will never have to experience that. Not saying that specifically happened to me. That did not specifically happen to me, just to be clear. But they would definitely get on your phone. I've definitely had experiences when I was on the phone trying to talk to a girl, and they just can can you get off the phone? I need to make a call. I hated that. And you'd be so embarrassed, like, oh my bad, I gotta go. I said get off the phone. So, oh man. Gotham says I'm not real. I'm just a figment of the imagination. Well, I don't listen to figments of my imagination. Tenny says we weren't born in a childhood of computers. Moonlit Fern says 1982, but I'm still Gen X. No, 82 was early millennial. You're in the Zennial generation. The Zennial generation, 77 to 83. That's the micro generation I'm also in. It's the whole Zennial generation, also called the Star Wars generation, because that was the timeline of the original trilogy of Star Wars from 1977 to 1983. These were the last of the Gen X and the first of the millennials, which became a whole micro generation or hybrid generation called the Zennials. For Gen X and millennials, the Zennials. So I have more in common with people born within that period than people born earlier than 77 and people born after 83. Because everyone from 77 to 83 pretty much had the same cultural experiences, more or less. School, school, the rise of cable television, the rise of personal computers, video games, going to the mall, um, being latchkey kids, that sort of stuff. Thing first says, "LOL, so true. I wouldn't have got the black smacked off me if I had left the table before my meal was done." Charles says my cousin had one of the first Gen TRS 80s. I can't remember what my exact Tandy model computer was. I would remember if I see it, but I don't remember the exact model. When it says, "Damn, sorry, Georgia." Is it growing up in Florida? We played during hurricane season. We loved it. That's dangerous. But I mean, living in Illinois, we played during tornado season. Like anyone from the Midwest remembers tornado season. I think all the way up from Michigan all the way down to Texas. It's like that was I think the tornado zone. Tenny says, all right. Well, only friend says pray ups to Sarah. Thing first, X Second says prayers up Sarah and to all those given through these hardships. Mona says 100. Cement says how you doing? He's but he's about to go on some little Gen Z retarded stuff. Um, anyway, because I'm not repeating all of that. Only friend says imagine kids these days handwriting letters. Imagine them knowing cursive. I mean, they can still use cursive through like type print on a computer, but most public schools stopped teaching cursive a long time ago. Charles was at 6'3" line on his back. Oh man. Think as for a second says LOL. Moment for instance Ritz and Yellow Wolf and Outcast, Jada Kiss, come on, yeah. Hobson and Dax too. And Muddy the Muddy G says floor model. Screens were small, but the box was big. That's what she said. More friend says, LO 80 TVs. Our parents made us beat a remote. Had to click it. So I was studying comp sci at ABAC University, but stopped after 2 years. That's how I met Miss Moon. That's what's up. Do Wesley says hi. Moon says you just popped your P letter when you said make make up. Very Baltimore, but also very Thai as well. Moon says hit that super chat bottom right of your screen, guys. Moon fans, you're speaking facts though. The alphabet community are doing it far too much, and and that's the thing. That's their mental health. But live in, let live. But wait a second. I'm sorry. I'm trying to make sense of that, and that's uh, the mental health. But live in, let live. Yet don't push anyone. But don't anyone push their beliefs on you. Right? Gotcha. Only for instance, a power pad. I was doing Legos. Oh, I had Legos too. Definitely had Legos. I had the space Legos, and that was right around when they started doing the castle. Remember the castle Legos? That was like the first thing they did after they branched out of the, because the only thing they had was originally they had like the the first Legos was like the community stuff, which was boring as hell. I never messed with the community stuff. I like the space Legos. Had the little classic spaceman that they even showed in the Lego movie, the spaceman, because that was probably like the first Lego minifigure that people really wanted to get. But then afterwards, they had the whole castle thing, which was awesome. And that's right when I had grew out of Legos. I was like around I think like 12, 13 when that stuff came out. So I had already grew out of it and didn't get back into it then as an adult when they brought back when Lego came back in a big way with the Star Wars stuff. Now it's like now I think it's more adults that collect Legos now because they got huge these huge sets like the Osaka Castle, which might take like a week to build, or the Death Star, like really intricate play sets. Eldridge Cleaver says it's right, y'all, for show, though, bro. Okay. Shingles, yeah, that's what I was trying to say. Yeah, like everyone that got chicken pox as a kid now is in danger of getting shingles. That's in their middle to elder years. That definitely was a mistake on the part of our parents to do that. Definitely. 2003 champ says Homo sapien actually. Oh yeah, he was trying to be funny though. 2003, he was. He was trying to make a gay joke by saying Homo erectus, but I was like, "What are you, 13? Like, that's a joke. Like, when we were kids, that would be funny. Like, how is Homo erectus a funny joke anymore?" I mean, you can make it funny, but apparently he's not clever enough to do that. So, um, whatever. Most trolls aren't that clever. If so, they wouldn't be considered trolls. They'd be considered comedians. Uh, Moonlit Fern says like, share, subscribe, and hit that super chat on your screen. And speaking of the mind, since that was nominally the topic today, again, if you're into Batman and you're into psychology, get the book Batman and Psychology. I I do have that book here. Most of my books are in my other house, but this is here. Batman and Psychology. I know it's backwards because of the camera, but it says Batman and Psychology, A Dark and Stormy Night by Travis Langley. So check that out. If you're into psychology and you're into Batman, like I am, had to get it. And there's a Batman and philosophy book too. Where is that? Not right here. Well, I don't feel like pulling that out, but there's also a Batman and philosophy book as well. So again, if you're into Batman and you're into philosophy, Batman and philosophy talks about his ethical positions for being a vigilante. Like, how do you know, is that an ethical thing? Can you be a vigilante um, and still be doing what is morally what is it morally permissible to be a vigilante, and other sorts of questions like that. Charles, what says the Free Battery Club? At him says top. Thanks. One of the friends says, bro, I so agree, being on the phone in the 80s so funny. Our parents fucking killed it. Right. Mayor Boya says, hi, dude. Maria says, lonely. I'm so lonely. I feel sorry for you, Maria. But if you're a lady, pretty sure you can get the attention of a guy. Like, guys, assuming you are a woman behind that username and picture, I don't know. Um, Hard not to not find a guy nowadays, depending on where you are. Unless you live in a town where the women outnumber the men, there are some uh, communities across the globe where there are much more women than guys. Like in places like Belize, I think the women outnumber the guys um, by a sizable margin. Timothy says you'd be a great Batman. Thanks. I would. Well, I would be Luke Fox if you know who Luke Fox is. He's Batwing. He's a black. He's part of the Batman family. He is the son of Lucius Fox. He's Luke Fox. He's Batwing. The original Batwing was an African vigilante who worked with Batman and his Batman Incorporated when he decided to set up vigilantes across the globe to fight crime under his name. But then they made a new Batwing who was Luke Fox, which is the son of the CEO of Wayne Enterprises, Lucius Fox. Only friend says he'd make a great Batman. Thanks, guys. I wish. Actually, no, that would be a hard life. Not gonna lie. Extended Clips said, good evening. What's up, Extended Clips? Haven't seen you in a while. Only friend says, what you had the space logos? Yeah, those were the first ones I ever had was the space logos. Those were the best ones. Like I said, so the I'm actually on eBay now. Matter of fact, I better go on eBay and see if I still have it on my wish list because I think it's gone. Check right now, but that's one of the classic minifigures was the spaceman, and I had the classic one. The classic one was the one in the yellow, and then they started making them all different colors. But the original space minifig was the yellow one, and they started making like green and blue and red and all those ones. Melissa says, "Okay, flex, I'm jelly." He said, "My guy, I'll be 42 November. I don't ever stop playing Legos." Oh, I got some. I just don't have them here. Um, yeah, not. But you seen my collection in back in my other place. My well, that place won't won't be around for long. I think my mother's gonna sell that place, and I think she's getting tired of my sister's shit, so she wants to sell a place. So she kept that what she was gonna say. Like she said that once my niece and nephew graduate, she was gonna sell a place. I thought she was BSing, but apparently she really is. So my sister is gonna be forced to live on her own for the first time in her life in 37 years. So we'll see how that works out because I've been quite uh, open about her lifestyle and substance abuse problems. So the fact that she's lived on my mother's, uh, taking care of her and her children for like for her, all her life. So if she failed to leave the nest, that's kind of my mother's fault. So she never gave her that push. I was shoved. Charles What's his Legos. I have the Bat Cave. Yo, uh, I think that's on my wish list. That if it's the one I'm thinking about, Charles, that joint is expensive, right? It was like that's a large playset. Yeah, I have that on my wish list because I saw it when I went to the comic book store. Um, it's this comic book store. I think it's in Timonium, Maryland, but they claim to be the oldest comic book store in the state of Maryland, and they got some great collectibles. They're like vintage stuff from like the 80s, 70s, like Star Wars, you name it. But they had the Lego Batcave, and I was like, "Yo, what is this?" They had that, and they had the Batmobile, the not the small one, like the fully fleshed out Lego playset Batmobile. So it's like the size of the actual like 1989 toy vehicle. So that was pretty cool. And I saw that Batcave. I'm like, yo, but it was expensive. So that's what's up. If you had the money to buy that, salute, because I'm saving up for that. I'm a married man, so I can't like really spend like I want. Like I bowl on a budget, so I find stuff through third party vendors online, or sometimes I might luck out and get a good deal at a comic convention or toy convention. So, but yeah, the Lego Batcave is awesome. I That is definitely on my list to get. I'm getting that. The Millennium the Millennium Falcon playset. Uh, and I think that's it. And then I want the Millennium Falcon from the 90s, from the Power of the Force series that came out in the 90s, like right prior to the prequel trilogy coming out, when they re-released all the stuff from the Kenner line from the 70s and 80s, but they updated the figures where they were like muscular, but all the vehicles were the same from the 80s. They basically just repainted the old stuff from the 80s with it used the same mold, so it can still fit your classic figures from the 70s and 80s, or it can hold the 90s ones who just like a more muscular. It's like they mix the Power of the Force toy line for Star Wars was like they took the old Kenner's figures from the 70s and mixed them with He-Man, because now all of a sudden like Han Solo was buffed, Luke was buffed, Luke was buffed. Well, Luke was buffed. I mean, well, Darth Vader was actually buffed in the real movie because that was played by the bodybuilder and actor David Prowse, the original body actor for Darth Vader. But everybody was buffed in the Power of the Force line. but the original, but the vehicles were all the original molds from the 70s and 80s. Rosemary says out of Virginia. Hello, what's up, Rosemary? Swaggy says Batman over Superman in real life scenario if they were both real. Okay. In real life, of course, Superman wins, right? Just out of pure, if we're just talking pure physicality. If Batman wins, it's because Superman let him. Let's also be honest. Batman may win, but that's only because Superman let him. Superman, um, now, so pre-crisis Superman for the nerds out here, we know the difference between pre-crisis Superman, post-crisis Superman. Pre-crisis Superman was so OP, like it was hard to find like good supervillains to fight him because he was so OP. That's why they had to give him the limits of like he's vulnerable to magic or a red sun or stuff like that because he was so OP. Even post-crisis Superman is way OP. Like the dude can sneeze away a solar system, right? He can he can destroy the what is the dimension where they send all the criminals like Zod and all the other evil like Kryptonians and stuff like that. The I was about to say the Negaverse, but that's Marvel. Um, Whatever, like he can destroy that. He held a book with um infinite pages. He bench pressed the earth for like several days and wasn't even tired after doing so. He's literally dragged the moon. uh, his feats can go on and on and on. Like in real life, Superman, of course, wins. But the reason most people like Batman is because he's a human. The he shows he shows the the height of human potential. This is what Batman represents. Like all the DC, all the most important heroes in the DC superheroes are basically like godlike beings. Like they're inspirational heroes. Like they aspire you to be more like them. Whereas the Marvel heroes were like flawed men who become powerful. They were, all flawed in some ways that made them more relatable. Whereas the DC superheroes weren't relatable; they were like godlike. So even Batman being a mere mortal was still godlike because he was like someone who, like I said, had reached the height of human potential, and he was like a gargoyle that watches over the city. But of course, Superman will win. If Batman does win, it's because Superman let him. I, so we just had to be. I can admit that Batman's my favorite hero while admitting that he would get brutalized. Now, can he figure a way to defeat Superman? Sure, but again, it's usually Superman letting him. Whenever he's beating the shit out of Superman, Superman is letting him because it only takes like him just to and completely destroy that man. Like Superman has taken on multiversal beings. He beat fifth dimensional beings. And I'm not talking about Mr. Mistoplex, who's a fourth dimensional being. He beat fifth dimensional beings. So Moonlight says, "Dang Charles, I have Lego Batman on PS5, but not the set. Y'all lucky." I know Charles making the big money bucks. All right, Charles is making the big money bucks. If he can afford the Lego Batcave, Guys, that is a huge playset. It might it may be as large or even bigger than the Death Star Lego playset. They're about, I would say they're roughly about equal. Charles can correct me on that, but I think in 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 terms of size and complexity, the Lego Batcave playset is about as big or bigger than the Lego Death Star playset, and both are gonna cost you some cheddar. Okay. Molly says swaggy. I hate to say it because I'm not a Superman fan, but yeah, Superman wins that talking comics, not movies. Yeah. Charles says rationalize fighting crime by breaking the law. That's what I'm saying. This so check out the book. Do you? I'll take the book out so you can see what I'm talking about. All right. So I can give you the author's name in case you want to buy it. But I mean, you can look it up on Amazon too. But since it's right here, I might as well show it. Uh, it says Batman and Philosophy: The Dark Night of the Soul. By the way, if you don't know, a really nerdy thing I do is I put all my books in plastic covering when I'm not reading them, so I don't, so I can preserve them. I preserve literally all my books with like plastic covering, either like cellophane or the slip covers. Let me put on my glasses so I can read the. So this is written well. Uh, it's edited by Mark B. White and Robert Arp, and just to answer your question, says why doesn't Batman just kill the Joker and end everyone's misery? Can we hold the Joker morally responsible for his actions? Is Batman better than Superman? Does everyone follow Batman's example? Would Gotham be a better place? That's a very Kantian question. The categorical imperative, which is, can we universalize a certain action that if everyone does it, it would be morally permissible for everyone to do? That's the question, right? And what is the dial of the bat? So yeah, sir. So Batman and Philosophy by Mark B. White and Robert Arp. If you want to check that out. Okay. Moon, for instance, Miss Moon said to say hi. Tell her hello. And I told Mrs. Contrarian. Why are you back, dude? Me just Moonlit for instance, I make a great Gambit. I still gotta watch that movie so I can see because it seemed like his appearance in the Deadpool and Wolverine was purely comedic, but now they're trying to push. But now it's like both Channing Tatum and Ryan Reynolds are saying they should actually do like a solo movie for him. I don't know how honestly I don't know how good a solo movie would be just with Gambit. I think the only way it would be good is if it's like a bunch of X-Men characters in it. I just don't see him. I don't see Gambit like, especially played by Channing Tatum. No diss to him, but I don't see him taking on the main role. Like he to me he didn't when he played Duke in GI Joe he wasn't very good. So I just don't see him as a main character outside of him doing his little stripper movies. Swaggy says Superman would win if they went at it in real life only because Superman is as fast as Flash. All it would take is one burst of speed to the jaw and Batman would be dead for real. He doesn't You're overthinking this, Swaggy. He literally doesn't even have to do that. Like he could literally just pluck the man like that and completely obliterate him. Like that's how powerful he is. He has to hold back all the time. Like people don't realize because he's holding back so much that he like he's on a whole different level. Like the the very the properties of time and space don't even really translate to him like it does to regular people. Like people are always like people always try to take shots at this man, not realizing just how insanely powerful he is. He is a godlike being who just happens to be mortal or semi-mortal. Uh, he doesn't have to move like the Flash to destroy Batman. He could literally, I mean, he could just laser beam him with his eyes, freeze him with his breath, clap his hands, and just create a pressure wave that destroys him. He wouldn't have to move from his spot. He could just stomp his foot, cause an earthquake to swallow him up. Like this man is insanely powerful. People, people take shots at Superman all the time in the comics, not realizing who they fucking with. Like I'm serious. Like these criminals are morons. Like you're trying to shoot at a person who's invulnerable, a person whose strength can't even be measured. His strength is immeasurable. Well, I would say unmeasurable because um, his speed, although uh, technically the Flash is supposed to be faster than Superman because he's won a race against Superman. We don't know if Superman was holding back when they raced because they needed him to beat Superman to say that he's the fastest man alive because that's what the Flash is known for. He's the fastest man alive, right? Um, but there's really no contest between them. It's like a it's like an ant challenging a man. Like there's in no scenario where the ant beats the man in any like foreseeable consequence. Like you could say, oh yeah, it was a fire ant. I mean, even those little deadly Australian giant fire ants, one of them alone usually is not going to take down a man. You would have to let it actually crawl up and bite you and destroy you, whatever. But we've shown even his main weakness, kryptonite, he can fight through it. Like you'll eventually get him, but he can fight through it. Like even if you diminish his power by 3/4, at 3/4 his natural power, he can still easily destroy you. It's just no contest at all. Swaggy says can't fight what you can't react to or see. Like I said, he never has to use his speedster abilities to hurt anyone other than someone who's also a speedster themselves. Moonlight says Swaggy, all Superman would have to do is grab him and fly him out the atmosphere. Like I said, you guys are overthinking. Like he literally just can just pluck him, and it would completely break. He would completely break apart. Like I said, think of an ant trying to challenge you. What is the ant gonna really do when you can just literally just smush him? You could just sit down your cup and destroy the ant. Like, but if we want to make it comparable between Batman, Superman, and an ant and another being, it wouldn't even be a man. It would be like it, it would be like an ant versus like a dinosaur. It would be like an ant versus Godzilla. That's what it would be like. Superman versus Batman would be like a Godzilla versus an ant. If Moonless Friend says we are so off topic, truly indeed, because the whole thing was about the mind, and we just went off on a tangent. It's Friday. Moonless Friend says for your sister, good luck. Look, I wish the best for her too, but she has to want the help and recognize that she needs help. She doesn't recognize she needs help. Both her and my mother are in denial about it, so it'll never. If my mother's in denial that something wrong with the girl, well, the woman, and my sister's pretending she like nothing's wrong with her, even though like my friends will see her when she comes outside and they be like she looks like a city like the city dope like a typical city dope fiend, even though we're in the suburbs. Like even he's like, yo, she's wearing like a hoodie and sweats in the 90-degree weather in the summer, and she's skinny as hell. No, she has to need the help, and no one, everyone's afraid to say something to my mother because of the way my mother behaves. So no one's going to say anything, but we all see it. We all see it, and when something happens, what can you say? Because we all know it, we all saw it happening. She didn't want to hear it, so we didn't say it. And the few times we did say something, she snapped on any of us that said anything. We all see it, and it's been this way for like over a decade. I'm just, it's just, it's just luck that she hasn't gotten a hot dose in all these years. So I don't know what to say about that moonlit. Swaggy says he wouldn't even have to do all that. He would just simply have to punch Batman in the chest really hard, really fast, and he is fast as the Flash. I get it. He's powerful, but again, he doesn't even have to punch him. Like I said, he can literally just pluck, not even a hard pluck, just, and it would completely destroy Batman. I don't like. You have to read the comics to realize that the guy's strength and power is beyond measure. Beyond measure. He's beat multiversal beings. He's beat fifth dimensional beings. He's held a book with an infinite pages. He's he put a black hole in the palm of his hands. He's bench pressed the earth for several days without getting tired. He's dragged the moon into a new orbit. um, he once sneezed a solar system away. Um, he beat Darkseid, the actual Darkseid, not his avatar and not one of his many versions of him in each universe. The actual version of him, that, which is pure, which is the actual just an immortal concept of the very idea of evil itself, which is Darkseid. He beat him by singing a tune that destroyed his cosmic strings. You can't, like, he doesn't have to really do anything. Like I said, people play with him all the time. The funny thing is, people won't play with Batman. They're scared as shit of him, but they will try. They will try Superman because they don't realize they don't realize they're fucking with a living god. But they will. They won't. But they won't play with Batman. Batman will look at you like, and you will shit your pants. Meanwhile, Superman's here with the smiles, like, and he can completely break you apart without even having to lift a finger. Like, he's Homelander times 50. So when people ask, is Homelander, can Homelander defeat Superman? Hell no. Superman is like at least 50 times stronger than Homelander on any given day. And Omni Man as well. Omni Man and Homelander together couldn't be Superman. And you can even add in Brightburn too, if you remember that movie with the evil kid who was like an evil Superboy. You can throw in Brightburn, Omni Man, Omnilander, Galact. What's that guy from Marvel? Not Galactus. The the what's his name? The Centurion looking guy. You could add him to the mix. All of them going at him at the same time, and Superman will defeat all of them together. Lyman says, "Hey, little Broisies." It says hi. What's up, man? Mona says, yo, I want not to sound lame. I want friends. The friends Lego set is 7,000 baht, so I'm thinking I'm gonna get it for Miss Moon birthday. That's what's up. I didn't even know they have a friends Lego set. Damn, I didn't even know about that. But guys, I'm about to go soon because we completely went off topic for like hours. Mitchell says laser eyes, Superman all the way. Charles says Batman could win if he cheated and used kryptonite. Like I said, even if he cheated using kryptonite, actually, Superman gave him a sliver of kryptonite, which he made into a ring because he said, "Look, I need you to keep this in case I ever go rogue, and I need you to put me down because I'm susceptible to magic, um, or susceptible to like the powers of a red sun or whatever." So he trusts Batman enough that he's gifted him kryptonite, green kryptonite, to put him down if he ever needs to. Like, um, and of course, Batman has a log of how to take down every member of the Justice League if they ever step out of line or they're under the influence of malevolent forces that force them to do evil. But in any case, even if he used kryptonite, Superman can still kill him if he gets to him fast enough before the kryptonite completely uh, robs him of all his powers. It would be a time race, and again, Superman is a speedster, so the from the time he takes out the kryptonite to the time that Superman is completely depowered will still be enough time that Superman could destroy him. So, but it always depends on the writers how they want to write the scenario. Like, given that they already predetermined how it's going to end. Moonlit Friend says y'all got him started on Superman and Batman. LOL. Charles will say the Phantom Zone. Yeah, that's what it was. He can destroy the Phantom Zone with his own. Just he can destroy the Phantom Zone. So if you ever got tired of all those galactic, intergalactic criminals, he could literally, like all the ones that's stuck in the Phantom Zone, he could literally destroy the Phantom Zone, which is its own like alternate that universe. No, what makes the what makes it so protect outstanding that he can destroy the Phantom Zone? That the Phantom Zone is said to be infinitely large. Like I said, it's like uh, correlates to the Nega Zone in Marvel, but the Phantom Zone is supposed to be like infinitely large, and Superman can destroy it. Charles says bench press. No, that was Chuck Norris. No, there's a comic where he literally had to bench press the Earth for like several days. I don't remember what comic it is, but you can Google it. That was a real thing. Only for instance, Iron Man is Marvel's Batman. Yeah, no. So Marvel has a lot of characters that are similar to Batman, but it seems they all have like facets of Batman, but not all of it. So Iron Man, in a way, is sort of a Batman as far as him being a billionaire, philanthropy, playboy. The difference is Batman only pretends to be a playboy billionaire. Well, I mean, he is a real billionaire, but he only pretends to be a playboy, whereas Iron Man really is a playboy. And in the comics, you know that he was like also a a bitter, like a serious alcoholic at one point too. For people who know that classic Marvel stuff, but whereas Tony Stark was actually a drunk and a playboy, Bruce Wayne only pretended to be a drunk and a playboy. Um, both like high intellects. If you compare their intellects, though, I think Batman is smarter, at least now, because after Jeff Jones uh, rebooted the DC, he made Bruce Wayne the second smartest person in DC, with Lex Luthor only being the smartest because he's always been the smartest character in DC Comics. With what's his name being third place, he's always been the third smartest person on Earth. Mister Terrific, the black guy. But but originally Batman was only the 10th smartest. Now he's like the second smartest person in all of DC, the DC universe. Um, but so if you're going by the new Batman, he's slightly smarter than Tony Stark. But that's just one facet of Batman. Then Daredevil is another Marvel character that's very similar to Batman, right? Then so is Captain America, because Batman is literally a super soldier without ever taking a super soldier serum. It's just his natural abilities reach the height of human potential. Um, so like, cause like Captain America would be comparable to Deathstroke, the Terminator, in DC, but Batman beats Deathstroke all the time. um, and then there's the Punisher. The Punisher was sort of made as a mockery of Batman. Like he's like Batman if he was like the fascist that people claim he is now. Like all these people on the political left claim that Batman is a fascist because the only thing they know of Batman is the version of him made by Zack Snyder in the Batman versus Superman movies and the Suicide Squad and Justice League. So now all these people on the left try to conflate Batman to being a fascist based on those movies and the new one that came out with Matt Reeves, or maybe even the Christopher Nolan movies, because like the Harvey Dent Act in Dark Knight Rises was supposed to be equivalent to the real life Patriot Act, but that was purposefully done. Christopher Nolan was showing the moral failings of that through his movie, but that didn't make Batman a fascist. So in any case, Punisher is also a facet of Batman, like if he was out of control. And then also sort of Moon Knight. Moon Knight is sort of a Batman character too. Marvel has a bunch of Batman-like characters. Usually they're street level heroes, except for Captain America, who's not really a street level hero. Michelle says Batman owes it all to Alfred. Eh, I don't know about that, but Alfred is his most trusted uh, friend. He considers Alfred like a father to him. Like he is his most trusted person in the world, even more than Dick Grayson. Like he trusts Alfred completely, which is why so many people were mad when Alfred was killed in um the the recent books that came out like 5 years ago when Bane took over Gotham City and he broke into the Batcave and killed Alfred. And I don't know if Alfred has come back yet in the canon stories or not. Someone can tell me if Alfred has come back, but as far as I can recollect, he's not back yet. But I'm pretty sure sooner or later they're gonna bring him back because he's been a part of the Bat family for 80 years before they killed him like 5 years ago in the comics. Only for instance, neither mutants, just rich and intelligent. He said Gambit is my favorite, and didn't he have a kid with Rogue? I don't know, but it was just yesterday that someone told me that he and Rogue were once married. I didn't even know that. Charles says that was Christmas, birthday, and a few other presents combined. Oh yeah, because that would have been a huge budget. Like that, like I said, I was like, you're balling if you had that playset. 'Cause I know how much that costs because it's on my eBay wish list. I know how much that costs. That is a gift. Moonlit says, Moonlit for instance, in plastic. Wow, uh, you my grandma. No, I put all my books in plastic coverings though. I put them all in either in a slip cover from like the comic book slip covers, or I wrap them in cellophane because I don't like my pages to get weathered. It preserves the books. Like so like when you buy a fresh book from the store and it's still within the plastic air seals. That's how I keep my books after I read them because I don't want them to mess up. I want to keep my books as long as possible, pass them on to my children. They can keep them in their collection, whatever. But I like preserving my books. Like basically treat my books like I treat my vintage toys. Like I collect them. It's like I read them, then afterwards I preserve them so I can keep them. Only for instance, Samurai Batman and Joker is a great fight. It's on YouTube. I watched Bat. If you're talking about a Ninja Batman, I did not like that anime at all. I didn't like the art style, and I didn't like the story because it was like he went back into like feudal Japan to become a ninja, but he was literally already a ninja. So it's like the people who made that anime didn't realize that the guy was already trained as a ninja. The only difference now is they're in feudal Japan, so they will be wearing the stuff of feudal Japan. But it got weird. Like they brought in like the little mech. Like it's supposed to be like the 16th century, but they're bringing in like these mech buildings that transform and stuff. I'm like, what are we doing? And now they have a samurai Batman. So I don't know if that's the same as that follows from the same story or not. But I know they did a sequel to Ninja Batman. And I don't know if it's the samurai one or it's something else. J.U says the devil has come to collect the diddler. Charles says Batman has a code that includes not being a murderer that would make him no better than his enemies. Yeah, so the in-universe reason for him not killing is that he realizes that he's already a vigilante and therefore a criminal. But what separates him from the criminals that he apprehends is that he won't kill them to stop them, because he realizes if he does that, then he crosses a line that makes him no different than the criminals he's trying to stop. But the actual reason that they didn't want him to kill was to make it more friendly, a more children friendly comics back in the 40s, because he used to kill all the time in the golden era when he first came out. He even had a gun, but they wanted to make him more children friendly, and they wanted to continue to use these villains for stories later on down the line. So if they didn't kill him, they could reuse these characters. So that was the actual reason he stopped killing. Um, but in the in universe reason was that that was where he drew the line, because it would make him no different than the villains that he apprehended. So especially since he's already a vigilante anyway, so he's literally already breaking the law by going around law enforcement to catch people. But they can appreciate him helping them, at least Gordon and some of the legit cops, because they know that he'll do things more or less by the book, more or less. Sometimes it's been way less, because he's not above intimidation and torture. He will intimidate and torture, but then so do real cops. But that's a whole different story. Mullah says now they making a movie for him. It's on the news. But yeah, Solo, it would be trash. He's talking about the Gambit thing, guys. He said Charles says there was talk years ago of a Gambit movie. Yeah, Channing Tatum was gonna do it, but they never gave it that. They never gave it the green light. He said that's why Tatum played that in Deadpool. He was supposed to be in the earlier movie. Mulder Friend says Batman has a code. Yes, he's a vigilante like Punisher or Spawn, but his code is no killing. And Joker wants to test that like dog chasing a car. AF says I'm just checking in. Superman is mentally weak though. I think he held back. Superman is not mentally weak. He is he is very mentally he has a lot of mental strength. Like I said, the fact that he can hold back so much, like is he has to walk around on pins and needles. Like he's like a living god just walking around a bunch of mortals, and people try to test him all the time, and he never takes it there with them. Like at the full extent of his power, he would destroy any and everything around him, the planet, the solar system, everything. Like, and he could just go off somewhere and get some cornflakes. But and he doesn't have to eat either. He chooses to eat. Like his he really gets his energy from the yellow stars like the sun. But the fact that he holds back is a strength, not a weakness. Because at any it if it wouldn't take much for him to cause utter chaos and destruction. I'm only, for instance, mentally, no, I'd say he's confused, but his PTSD from all his life would do the same. AF says, but Superman always trying to be too good. That I don't see. This is the criticism of people got, which is why Zack Snyder fucked up Superman. Like he, that's not a weakness. That is a strength. Superman is showing the best of humanity. He represents the best of humanity, which is all the more astounding because he's an alien, but he represents the best of humanity. So when people say he's too good or he's a Boy Scout, that's a good thing. One of the things I'm hopeful about James Gunn when he makes the new Superman movies is he wants to show a guy who has those qualities of Superman in a in a in a world where everyone's cynical, our actual world, right? So in a world where everyone would think would would be dubious of someone who's just a naturally good person, like just true altruism, which is very rare in the real world. Arguably, some say there isn't any genuine altruism. That is all like partial altruism that we have. Like we do it because we expect others to do it back to us. But genuine altruism is just doing good without any sort of um, without believing in any sort of reciprocity. But most cases of altruism in human behavior is reciprocal altruism. There are very few cases in behavioral science where we've seen genuine altruism. Superman is one of those cases. He's just genuinely altruistic. He represents the best of humanity. The fact that people dislike that about him just shows how cynical of a world we live in, where a superhero who has genuine altruism, who's just good for goodness sake, that represents the best of humanity, is seen as boring or seen as flawed or naive, and that's far from the case. Like I'm not even a bigger Superman fan. I'm a bigger Batman fan, who's a dark, brooding superhero. But to make Superman dark and brooding the way Zack Snyder did in his movies, just completely missed the point of everything that is the ethos that makes up Superman. So if he's too good, it's not because he's too good. It just means we're too cynical. Uh, Charles Will says, I think a large part of the Superman mythos is that if he's adopted, parents hadn't raised him so ethically correct, he could have destroyed the planet and then the universe. Well, so you need to read the Red Sun because they get into that. Like, there's a Elseworlds story of Superman that what if he landed in the Soviet Union instead of in Kansas, and it shows it's a really good graphic novel, and they have a animated film about Red Sun too. They kind of changed it a bit from the comics. They usually always do, but you can watch the animated film Red Sun, or you can actually read the graphic novel Red Sun, and it shows that like what if Superman landed in the Soviet Union, and it shows his upbringing as a Superman that represents the Soviet Union, and instead of an S on his chest, he has like the little sickle, the little communist sickle symbol on his chest. So if you're interested in if it's the in the nature versus nurture question, is Superman a byproduct of his upbringing, or is he is or is it a matter of his innate his, his, um his innate like genetic makeup. Uh, short like for the short answer is a combination of both. But read the Red Son if you're actually interested in that. Whether it's just his upbringing as being adopted by two wholesome parents, um, of whether he grew up to be the right way or if it's because he was Kal El, regardless of where he grew up, that and he ended up being who he is. Red Sun will kind of give you its own interpretation of that. Moonlit Fern says you meant bullet ants. Oh, okay, yeah. I was just using an example, but really it would be just like a basic ant versus a human. But I was just trying to give like the strongest version of an ant that we can think of, which is those weird ass Australian ants. AF says, what if you take him to a dimension without suns? That's a good question. Well, we saw in what what comic was it? The Dark Knight Returns, where he was held in a facility without ever being exposed to the sun. What that would do to him? He would have no power. I mean, he still needs his power source. So yeah, if you rob him of any stars, he will be depowered, right? And use kryptonite. I mean, we both know the answer. If he's completely depowered because he has no access to solar energy and he's subject to green kryptonite, it can kill him. However, once he is exposed again to solar energy, he will probably regenerate. Charles Wolf says, "AF, he knows people fear him. He has to be too good." Exactly. That's like people don't. Like I said, just like there's a Superman and I mean, excuse me. Just like there's a Superman and Batman and philosophy book, there's a Superman and philosophy book that gets into all of that. It answers that. He has to be good because he knows if he ever steps out of bounds, he could unintentionally hurt people. He doesn't want to do that. That's not a weakness, that is a strength. Again, Superman has always been to represent the best of humanity. And if you really dive deep into it, his origin story is a Moses story. His origins is a Moses story where he as an adult is more of a Jesus narrative, right? Um, Most of the early comic book writers from the golden age of comics were these Jewish comic book artists and writers, and so they put a lot of their religious beliefs into their characters. That's why Batman is a certain way, Superman is a certain way, Flash is a certain way. Now, the Flash wasn't originally Jewish in the comic books like he is in the Zack Snyder films, but they changed that for the films. But as far as I know, he's not. He's still not Jewish in the canon storylines. But his writer was the guy who wrote him was Jewish, just like the writers of the creators of Batman and Superman were Jewish kids when they first wrote these stories. So they put a lot of their some of their religious upbringing into their characters. But complaining that Superman is too good is just something I remember coming out of the 90s when he became less popular to people like Batman and Spider-Man because people just thought that a, a all and a all good superhero was boring or that he wasn't realistic. When again, none of the DC superheroes were ever supposed to be realistic. They were supposed to be um, as, uh, heroes that you aspire to. They were always supposed to be godlike. Batman, Superman, Flash, Wonder Woman, Green Lantern. These were all aspirational heroes to that you rise to. Moment first is interesting AF, but no. AF says he won't do it though. I think a better comparison is a lion and a honey badger. Yeah. Not if we talking Batman versus Superman. There's no comparison. But like I said, it's an ant. It's like an ant to a human being. One says Batman and Deadpool would be fun, but never going to happen. They did it in the go to the YouTube channel Bat and the Sun. They do actually show Batman versus Deadpool. Hint, I mean, Batman wins, but Deadpool can't die, so that means that Batman can use deadly force on him because he knows that Deadpool can't die. So you can beat Deadpool, but you're not going to kill him because he's immortal. I mean, first of all, his just his mutant healing factor is slightly better than Wolverine's. But on top of that, even if you take away the healing factor, because sometimes Wolverine's factor is better or worse than Deadpool's, but even if you take that aside, like he was cursed with immortality by Thanos because Deadpool fell in love with death itself, whose uh, whose persona is a woman, and Thanos was a. If people know the original Infinity Gauntlet story, Thanos was a simp for death, for Lady Death. Like he literally did all that shit to try to impress her. He like Thanos is a simp. Luckily, that didn't make it into the MCU version of Thanos, but in the comic books, Thanos was a simp for death. And when Deadpool fell in love with her, he cursed Thanos with immortality, so he can never be with death. So, AS says the lion can kill the fuck out of him, but chooses not to. AS says she's sick or addicted. Addicted. He's asking about my sister, guys. Um, Moonlit says, same with my half sister. She was coddled and can't take care of herself. Exact same thing, man. My sister's also half sister, been coddled all her life. I think the reason she got coddled is because her father, my stepfather, passed away when she was still a kid back in '96. And I think my mother felt like she had to baby her, and it backfired. Like I remember she would even help me go to college, but she was telling my sister she would buy her own nail spa if she went to beauty school. She would buy her own beauty parlor. I'm like, what? You won't even help me with college, and you'll buy her an entire beauty parlor? Wow. On top of that, she dropped out of high school, and they told me to help her. They no, they told me to convince her to go to college. I'm like, what? And she was like, well, obviously I left high school because I didn't want to do school anymore. So why would I want to go to college? I was like, oh, I get it, but that's what they told me to tell you. She's like, yeah, I'm not going to college. I tell them, you didn't talk to her. You didn't do good enough. You need to go back and talk to her again. I'm like, yeah, okay, no, I'm not doing that. She said what she said. She's not going to change her mind. But then I saw later stuff with her telling my sister to that she should go to beauty school. Like the movie. Remember the whoever saw Grease, either the movie or actually watched the play, actually acted in it in high school. Besides watching the movie, so you remember the song, "Beauty School Dropout, go back to high school." Beauty school dropout, beauty school dropout. That was my favorite song in the movie, and that was like my favorite. Yeah, that was like my favorite scene in the movie and in the play that we did. It was funny because there's a bunch of black kids playing greasers from the '50s. So I love that. That was like my first. That was actually that wasn't my first play. My first play was about 6 years old. But anyway, this is my sister. Like dropped out of high school, and now my mother wants her to go to beauty school, and she never did. But AF says, "Damn, yeah, I know, I know." Mona says, "Bro, I'm glad you didn't see my life last night. My live last night. I snapped on everything and everyone to address trolls on my friends' channels. I get it. Sometimes I lose my cool too. Like this was like last week. This one guy came in trying to troll, and he was like Indian or something. Yo, I went off on dude. But people was like, yo, he deserved it. But it's like if you're gonna be racist to me and you're Indian, I'm gonna fry your ass. And I gave it to him hard, no diddy. um, AF says it is. The Kents pretty much screwed Superman. How did they screw him? They raised him in a wholesome Midwest environment. They gave him his they gave him the moral values on which he lives now as a man. How did they screw him? I really don't understand how you think they screwed him up by instilling in him traditional values who make him who he is today. That is tortured reasoning to me. If you simply don't like Superman, that's fine. But again, he represents the best of humanity, which is all the more outstanding because he's an alien trying to fit in on Earth. And he's a godlike being that really doesn't need anyone or anything. And it's his love for Lois that kind of keeps him grounded. A lot of people don't understand that relationship too. Like his love for Lois keeps him grounded. He said because he won't kill Lex and any of the other big bads, but will kill the hell out of some aliens. When have you seen him kill aliens? Like, only time I see him kill aliens are like autonomic being, like they're like automatons or androids and stuff like that, or think or immortal type beings. But he does not kill. Same thing with Batman. Like all the big superheroes don't kill. Daredevil doesn't kill. Spider Man doesn't kill. Batman doesn't kill. Superman doesn't kill. Wonder Woman usually doesn't kill, but she killed once when she killed Max, whatever that guy's name is, and she literally did that because he was controlling Superman and making him try to kill Batman. So she snapped the guy's neck to prevent him from controlling Superman, who was going to kill Batman and everyone else. It's the only time Wonder Woman killed, and I'm not even sure if that's canon anymore, but she that was canon that she once killed. But other than that, those guys and she don't usually kill. The ones who will kill sometimes is Wolverine, Green Arrow. Green Arrow thinks it is sometimes morally justified to kill someone. Obviously, in the real world, it is, but in this world, it they see it as a weakness that you have to kill someone to stop them. I get it, but you gotta separate the comic book world from the real world. In any case, um, he not killing Lex. It's not a bug. It's a feature of him of what makes Superman who he is. Again, remember he's a godlike being. He could literally kill anyone at any time without raising a without stepping out of his home. So like he could literally just pinpoint someone from his home, laser them, and then cook some popcorn and watch the late night show. Only friend says the likes go up the more you talk about DC and Marvel. I know, right? And this is not even about this. It was supposed to be about the mind. So I might have to change the topic when I go back and edit this. But it was supposed to be nominally about the mind. But I think I screwed myself when I said, "Hey," since I didn't get to talk yesterday because my voice was hoarse and I wanted to talk about Batman. I couldn't, so I'm gonna talk about it. I said I'll allow questions about it, but it turned totally went astray. Um, AF says Batman will put you in a wheelchair. Yes, he'll put you in a wheelchair, but Superman can end your existence. You see the the difference? Batman. So here's the thing: Batman, Daredevil, and Spider-Man are the whole "I won't kill you, but your medical bills will" crew. That's what they are. I'm more scared of them because they're not gonna kill you; they're just gonna cripple you, and then you're gonna have to live with trying to pay off the bills from your medical for the rest of your life, your hospital bills. They're the "I'm not gonna kill you, but your medical bills will" crew. Daredevil will fuck you up. Spider-Man will fuck you up. Batman would fuck you up. It says Superman wants you to be a better person. Yeah, and the thing is, because he's invulnerable, you can't you can't. The only thing you can get him, the only time you get that man upset is if you hurt someone he cares about, or if you hurt an innocent person. That's when you'll see the the dark side of Superman come out, and you see it because his when his eyes light up red, that's when he's angry. Jim Lee was the best at showing an angry Superman. Like that's why Jim Lee's my favorite comic book artist, and now he heads DC Comics. He had the best pictures showing because everyone's used to seeing a happy, smiling Batman. Like I mean Superman. Like, hey, I'm Superman. What's going on, guys? So Jim Lee's the only one that can show like an angry Superman, and it just scares the shit out of you. Seeing this godlike being who's just like happy and care, seemingly carefree. He's not really carefree. He just appears that way. In in turn, like again, you got to read these books. They talk about Superman's um, psyche. Internally, he's always worried about hurting others. That's why he's always so careful. He always seems a Boy Scout or too good to be true because he deals with these issues. He and Batman have a good friendship because Batman knows what Superman deals with holding. He knows how much Superman holds back to be the person that he is, that everyone trusts him and they know he got their back and that he won't hurt people. Whereas Superman friendship reciprocates that with Batman because he realizes that this man is dealing with the pain and loss of his parents, and that this he has this long-standing clinical depression that he's been dealing with since he was a child, and it's never. He realizes the inner demons that Batman deals with, and Batman realizes the pressure on Superman to always be on point and never cross the line where he could just destroy everything and everyone, which is why Superman has entrusted kryptonite to Batman in case that ever does happen. That's the type of understanding they have. I mean, Batman wants you to be a better person too. This is why no matter how many times he will arrest you and beat your ass, he will be the first one to give you a second chance. If you don't believe me, go back to Batman the animated series where he helps out Harley Quinn, and she was like, and she, at the end of that episode, she was like, "Why would you help me? You all the little shitty things I've done to you, and me and the Joker, and we've tried to kill you and do all these." She's like, "Why would you do this?" Because he brought her this dress because she got released out of Arkham and she was trying to do good, and she got some things happened that pushed her back into a life of crime, but she was legitimately trying to go like be a good person. And so he bought her this dress that she was trying to get when she was trying to go good, and things went awry. And he was like, "Look," he said, "everyone deserves a second chance." And he was like, he said, "We've all had dark moments in our lives." And she was so happy with him. She was like, "A good person like you should never have a dark moment in your life." Well, he was referring to when he lost his parents right in front of his eyes. So Batman wants you to be a better person too. Like, it doesn't matter if you've done the most horrendous things. If he believes you can turn a new leaf, he will be there. Like he's gonna he's gonna watch you. But if he sees you are legitimately trying to turn a new leaf, he will be there for you. He's done that for the Joker. Like there's a mini series where the Joker becomes good, supposedly, and he thought it was an act, but he really saw no, the Joker was actually a different person. Like even the Joker, his arch rival, if he thought this Joker could turn a new leaf, he would be there rooting for him to become a better person. He did that in the Killing Joke. Even in the Killing Joke was horrible. This like in the Killing Joke, he literally just came to Jim Gordon's house, shot Barbara Gordon in the gut, paralyzing her, stripped her naked, and it's implied that he RAPED'd her, even though they don't show in the comic, but it's highly implied that's what he did, and then took pictures of her naked and bleeding on the floor, kidnapped Jim Gordon, and ran him through uh, this thing at a carnival, like one of those little rides where you go through the little crazy house or whatever, showing pictures like huge blow up of pictures showing his daughter naked and bleeding and crippled on the floor after he did his thing to her to try to turn to try to make Jim Gordon have a mental breakdown, which he didn't because Jim Gordon is just that dude. But aside from all that, when Batman finally caught up to him, he was like, "Look, I know everything you did, but it's still not too late for you. You can." He's like, "I can get you help. We can help you." And for an instant, Joker actually became completely lucid, lost all the jokey thing. And again, this is in the Killing Joke, so if you think I'm making this up, you can read the Killing Joke yourself. It's in the end of the story. And he's like, Batman's like, we're gonna keep doing this till eventually either you kill me or I kill you. I don't want this to happen. Let's get you some help. And Joker had a point of lucidity. He's like, it's too late for me, Bruce. Well, he didn't say Bruce. It's implied that he really knows who Batman is. He just doesn't care. But he was like, Batman. He said, at this point, it's really just too late for me. And so then he tells Batman a joke, and they both start laughing. And at the original end of the story, Batman just kills him, but they changed it because they didn't want to end the Joker. But originally in the Killing Joke, he was supposed to die. That's supposed to be the end of the Joker. After Batman had reasoned with him, said, "Look, I can get you to help," and he just said, "No, it's too late. I can't change who I am now." So both Batman and Superman and Spider-Man want you to be a better person. Again, this is why they are the three most popular superheroes across the world. So sorry for that long spiel. Charles says, but Homelander would cheat and has zero moral code. Well, Charles, even the Homelander cheated. He's not as powerful as Superman. Like, look at the boys. Neither in the comics and especially in the show, he has never taken on anyone more as powerful or more powerful than him. He's only taken on lesser superheroes. The closest he came to that was the the what's it this the Sentinel Soldier, whatever his name is. He's basically like an evil version of Captain America. And in the show, it's his father, but that's not his father in the comic books. But whatever, he's still not as powerful as Homeland. Like Homeland is the most powerful person. The person who was actually as powerful as Homelander was um what's the guy in black? The guy that's sort of like a Batman Snake Eyes looking figure. In the comic books, he's actually a clone of Homelander, but they changed it in the show. But in the boys, the comic book, the the black whatever his name is, he's actually a clone of Homelander. That's why they never show what he looks like because no one, including Homelander, knew that that was his clone. So yeah, Homelander has zero moral code, but he's still he's still not in the same weight class as Superman. Like Superman would easily body him, like easily. Um, the Mighty G says none of them can defeat Uncle Rico. I don't even know what that means, but all right. AF says Homelander will kill everyone on Earth if he thinks he's going to lose. Yeah, yeah, that's true. But again, he can't defeat Superman. That's the point. He can't defeat him. Like on pure physicality, he can't defeat Superman. He's not on the same level. He would be punching way above his weight class. Same thing with Omni Man. Omni Man couldn't take on Superman either. AF says Batman will do what needs to be done. True. Great Sky uh, says Pink Kryptonite does what again? That was only in one comic book, and yes, I know it turned it turned Superman gay. That was only in one comic book, and that's no longer considered canon. That was in a time in the Silver Age when they literally start making different sorts of kryptonites up. Most of those aren't canon anymore. The only ones that still canon is like the green, the red. I think the yellow's still canon, but all those multiple colors of kryptonite are not canon anymore. That was like a feature of the Silver Ages. AF says if he had that red kryptonite, he'll destroy everyone with zero inhibitions. Great Sky says pink kryptonite lore, please. Like you're on some weird stuff. We already, yeah, that was literally only one comic book. So I'm sure you're not a comic book reader because you would know that that only appeared in one and only comic book where it turned him like gay and he started hitting on Jimmy Olsen. That was one and only one comic book that ever was featured. You're on some bull. Kyle Mary says why he looked like that. Because your mother's pussy stinks. Anyway, Charles Will says exactly AF. Batman is the ultimate justice. He's good. He's on the side of right. AF says tell him about the red kryptonite. So yeah, the red kryptonite he loses. Yeah, he loses all his. It basically turns him mad, more or less. Melissa says AF don't get him started right because I'm trying to get off, guys. Charles says Moon Knight is Marvel Batman. Everyone's Moon Knight. Everyone in Marvel is Batman. Daredevil is Batman. Iron Man is Batman. Captain America is Batman. Moon Knight is Batman. Shit, Taskmaster is Batman. Not the one from the MCU. Taskmaster was not a girl, and not they fucked up Taskmaster in the MCU, but whatever. That's why another reason I'm not going to see the Thunderbolts. Looks stupid. Mona says Moon Knight is a good series to watch. I didn't like the series. Like I like the actor Oscar, whatever his name is, but so little of the movie was actually like showing Moon Knight, and I don't think it got greenlit for a second season. They didn't show his third persona till literally the end of the last show, because you know he has three personas, and they only showed him at the end, even though they implied throughout the show that there's another persona, and everyone who knows the Moon Knight series knows that he had that third persona, but nah, I didn't like the series as much. I tried to watch it with my father. He got mad because the Egyptian superhero wasn't black. I'm like, Egypt. Well, first of all, Egyptians aren't black, and two, I said Moon Knight is an Egyptian. That's like he's actually a Jewish guy who is an avatar of an Egyptian god. My father just kind of like rolled his eyes. I was like, but those people are Egyptian. Like they're in Egypt, but since my father doesn't travel as much besides places like Dominican Republic and shit, like he doesn't realize like he's still in that Afrocentric belief that all the ancient Egyptians were black, and that's just historically inaccurate. AF says I think Tony is smarter. Batman just resourceful as F. He knows his weaknesses and doesn't give an ego about it. No, again, Tony, because Tony Stark isn't the smartest in Marvel, but Batman is the second smartest in all of DC. Um, Everyone knows Reed Richards is the smartest in Marvel, although for a short time they made that little black girl the smartest, uh, just for diversity's sake. But then they, I think they course corrected and made it back because everyone was used to Reed Richards being the smartest person in Marvel. It's Reed Richards, then it's Hank Pym, who's this considered the scientist supreme. He's the second smartest, and then the third was either it depended. It could it either Tony Stark or actually it's not even Tony Stark anymore because again they got all these other diversity heroes. But if we were just talking about the original lineup, I would say um, Reed Richards, Hank Pym, Tony Stark, Bruce Banner. No. Actually, no. I think Spider Man is like the third or fourth smartest. So they're all top five. But again, Reed Richards is the smartest. Reed Richards, then Hank Pym. Somewhere is there Tony Stark, Peter Parker, Bruce Banner. Um, oh no. I'm sorry. So I would say Reed Richards, then Doctor Doom, then Hank Pym, then Tony Stark, then Spider Man, then Bruce Banner. So they're very close in intellect, but I would say Batman is slightly smarter. He's the best martial artist in all of DC. He's the best detective in all of DC, unless you consider the chimp detective, which is not. Sometimes the chimp detective is real, like considered a part of like Marvel canon. Sometimes he isn't, but for the most part, Bruce is the best detective, the best tactician, the best strategist, the second best escape artist, the second best in projectile weapons to Green Arrow, the master ventriloquist, master tracker, master acrobat, only second to Dick Grayson, who's considered the best acrobat in all of DC, the best gymnast. Um, he can create all sorts of things in suits like Iron Man. Like he created a suit that can take on Dark Side. Um, but yeah, they're closely aligned as far as intellect, but Batman has other physical and abilities and other attributes to make him just outclass Tony Stark. Only for instance, I like as Azrael, but never got to see him go hard except in the PS5 games. There's some other comic books with him in it, but he's a minor figure in the Bat family nowadays. Like he's not really shown prominently anymore because people don't really like the character, so he's kind of been in the background. Probably because the writers just don't know how to use him. I'm guessing. Because I'm sure if they knew how to write him into the stories, he could become popular again. It's just that it's hard to use Azrael. AF says Daredevil's really underutilized. I don't think so. Like he's had a bunch of good storylines with Brian Bendis and some other folks. At one point, uh, he became a god in one of the stories. So did Batman, by the way. He became the god of knowledge as he sat on the in that little throne that I forgot which of the new gods it is who has that throne that lets him be in any place or any time that he wants. I forgot the name of that new god. Um, but Batman temporarily took his place and became the god of knowledge. And at one point, uh, Daredevil became a god, the god without fear, um, and got his vision back. So Moon Friend says, "Sorry, I gotta bounce, gotta feed the pets and work. It's calling, like go live in a few hours. That's what's up. I gotta go to myself. It's almost 12 o'clock." If says, "Now no fans are saying that they should have stopped at Nolan's movies. Ben Affleck sucks." All right, some of these people are just trolls now, so I'm about to go. Charles says, I remember it's easy to recycle villains. Yep. Charles says, people don't trust his goodness because, quote unquote, because they know what they would do if they had his power. Exactly. We live in a cynical world where being good is seen as a flaw instead of a virtue. And one of the things James Gunn promised in his new movies was to show that very feature of Superman being a person who seems too good in a cynical world. I welcome that movie because as much as I like Henry Cavill, Zack Snyder completely misunderstood Superman and messed the character up. You took the character who represents hope to even the other superheroes and made him a dark and brooding character. It doesn't make sense. Superman was never supposed to be a dark and brooding character. He even made Cyborg a dark and brooding character. Cyborg is not a dark and brooding character. Like everybody was dark and brooding in Zack Snyder's film. Like, dude, that was a feature of Batman because he's dealing with depression and the trauma of seeing his parents die before his eyes. But now you want to sit there and make all these characters dark and broody. Like they're all like all of the Justice League is just emo. No, that's why it sucked. Justice League should have been easily $1 billion movie. Like you, only someone like Zack Snyder can mess up a slam dunk like that. Like someone set you with the alley oop and you just miss. Charles says even in Russia he could have found good parents, but I get your meaning. Yeah. Uh, he says, but his humanity, quote unquote, came from his upbringing. He might still have turned out good, but his adopted family definitely helped focus him towards good. Like I said, that they talk about they give that in the Red Sun where they talk about whether it was his nature or his nurture that made him who he is. And again, it was both. um, Charles says, "Do you remember a series maybe called Injustice where Superman went dictator because of Lois Lane?" Yep, it started off a video game, became a comic book, and then they turned it into an animated film. Never really liked it. Well, one, I just didn't like the artistry for the comic. Plus, it came out in an era where everyone was doing the evil Superman spiel. You had the movie Brightburn, then you had the Injustice video games, which was cool, but I didn't want to read the comic books made after it. Then you had like all these things like the boys and Invincible. So I just got tired of the whole era of evil Superman stuff back in the 2010s. It got really boring quickly for me. Just 10 Rocks of Superman started in Cleveland, Ohio. Well, the writers came from Ohio, if that's what you mean. Yeah, the creators of Superman were kids from Ohio, but the character was raised in Kansas as an infant. So now, so we got another chutney boy trying to say something racist. Dude, go back to your diarrhea food, talking some crazy racist stuff. No one wants to fuck Indian dudes. That's why you're a little incel on my live stream because you can't get any bitches to fuck you. You probably stink too. So it's late. I'm getting a bunch of trolls. I'm about to end it. Black Noir. That's his name, right? In the comic books, they changed it from they changed it on the TV show, but he's a clone of Homelander in the comic books. Would they because they were using they cloned him in case they ever needed to replace him. So it didn't. So it was nothing like how it happened in the comic book, in the TV show. They made a lot of changes in the show that completely diverge from the comic book. Miss Tierra says hello. What's up, Miss Tierra? So I'm about to go since I'm getting mostly trolls, and I think I ended. Disney ruined the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Well, they both made it. Well, Disney both made it great and destroyed it. Like up until like by its height at 2018, like MCU was like the the envy of all of Hollywood. Like everyone was trying to create their own cinematic universe. Like they was trying to be a cinematic monster, like Universal Monster Universe. Um, they were trying to make a cinematic universe with the kaiju, like Kong and Godzilla and all of them. They were Hasbro was going to try to make their own little cinematic universe with Transformers and GI Joe and maybe even Mask. Um, like they were the envy of Hollywood. And in 2019, when Endgame came out, forget about it. Like they single-handedly both raised MCU up to the highest levels of Hollywood, and then destroyed it with all their diversity pandering and stuff like that. Taco Bell worker says, "Up, dude." All right, so I think I've silenced all the trolls at this point. So I'm gonna go. I'm probably going to change the title of this live stream since I stopped talking about the mind like an hour ago. So that's it for me, guys. I'm out. Have a good rest of your Friday or Saturday morning, whatever time it is for you. Catch you later. Thank you.